There we go. We're doing it live. Okay.
Fuck it, we'll do it live. In the famous words of Bill O'Reilly. And I don't have to view my what's the fucking word for it? Let's see here.
Well, you got to go to your channel, and then it should be something that's featured in the channel. That's where it usually showed up on mine. It would show as like one of the current thing that was just uploaded or is just being used. Or wait a minute, though. Let me.
Okay, I found it. Hey, Kazoom.
Yeah.
I found it. I found it.
Good. Yeah, they sure make it difficult.
What the hell? It tells me your browser does not currently recognize any of the video formats available.
Well, that's in the video part, but you still get to see the comments, though, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Then you really don't have to worry about it taking any bandwidth. So.
Oh, okay, that works. Wow, that's all I give a shit about is the comment section. So.
Yeah. So.
All right, I'm back. Yeah, I wanted to talk about tonight's topics about discrimination and indoctrination. You know what I mean? Because these two topics I'm very sensitive about. And one of the things that compelled me to talk about discrimination is this whole situation. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the individual, but he goes by the name of True Empiricism. Yeah. Okay, I'll take that as a yes.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, he one of his latest video talks about how atheists are just imagining things that, you know, they're not being discriminated against, and he hasn't seen any proof of these things, you know, and that we're just basically talking out of our ass, you know. And I watched that video, and actually, you know, and I realize it's just a video, you know, I realize that we're on computers, but after I watched that video, I have to be honest, you know, I was a little bit offended because this guy is ignorant. He obviously doesn't know what goes on out there in this country that we live in as far as discrimination is concerned, you know. And that's what I wanted to talk about. That's one of the things that I wanted to talk about, you know. And the other thing that I wanted to talk about is indoctrination, is when education comes into the picture. Now, a lot of people have come up to me with this new video that I was telling you about that I made about, you know, these kids being handed this book and stuff. A lot of people were under the conclusion that, you know, that they're trying to indoctrinate these children into the lifestyle, you know, that of a transgender individual, you know. And honestly, to be honest with you, I don't really see how that's indoctrination, you know, because it specifically teaches children about tolerance, acceptance. It teaches them about other individuals that are different from them, you know what I mean? And it gives them more options as far as an education is concerned. I mean, it has nothing to do with indoctrination. You know, transgender people, this ain't some mass conspiracy theory where transgender people are trying to recruit little kids to become transgender. You know, it's stupid. The whole notion. Go ahead.
I think the problem lies in people having a hard time with those that are transgender in the first place. It seems to be a lot more difficult for some people to wrap their minds around someone being transgender than someone being gay. And it it messes with some people. And when it gets introduced to just the very concept being introduced to children, even though it doesn't have to do with sexuality, just freaks some people out because they don't get it in the first place. So showing kids something that they already don't get in the first place. I mean, it's like how people freaked out probably when evolution first was getting taught. I mean, think about what the controversy was back, and I know I'm kind of changing the subject a little bit, but think about how the controversy that came up with Planet of the Apes. That movie was just, oh my God, you can't say that. It was just this huge controversy when that movie came out. Yeah. So, is anything that people don't understand, if it's being brought up to children, they're going to freak.
Yeah. And that's one of the things, that, like I said, offends me, because people are under this assumption that when it comes to education of like transgender or, basically the LGBT community in general, that right away they're trying to indoctrinate these children into sex. They're trying to indoctrinate these children into being a part of the LGBT community. And to me, that's ridiculous. That's simply not the case, And what plays a significant role in this is their confirmation bias. They're not willing to listen to anybody else's case. They're not willing to listen to any other ideas that come in and want to burst their little bubble. They just want to stay within their bubble, and they don't want to, listen to anybody else. And to me, this is a big problem. This is why I think in this country now, Kazoon, this is one of the main reasons why our education is so fucking far behind. From last I heard, I don't know, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but last time I heard, I believe our education system was ranked, I believe, 27th in the world. You know what I mean?
One of the things that probably comes into this as well is we're not teaching people how to think. We're teaching people what to think. And we're also not teaching people critical thinking skills. We're just not. It's just all this, it has changed. And so I think some people, when they see something like the subjects we're talking about here, they'll think about the fact that schools aren't teaching people how to think. So they're assuming that when they talk about this, they're teaching them what to think, even though that may not be the case in what's being talked about right here. But I think that's where a lot of people are going to assume.
Yeah. And it's I believe, ignorance is a problem in these particular situations, and obviously it's causing a lot of problems with a lot of individuals, because if it wasn't, they wouldn't be making these assumptions that they're making, And I've always been a champion for education. You know what I mean? I've always told my own children to go out there and learn what you can and come up with your own conclusions about what you want to talk about or what you want to know about, whatever the case might be. I'm not going to tell them, well, this is what you have to do, or this is what you have to think about. No, that's bullshit, man. And if they want to learn about religion, if they want to become religious, that's fine. I ain't going to be a type of person that's going to be a significant influence in their life when it comes to their own brand of thinking. I don't believe in that garbage. I have my position and my position alone.
Well, you would probably have a hard time if they were starting to spew hatred about whole groups of people if they became religious.
Well, yeah. Well, yeah, I can see where you're coming from there, because, yeah, that is a point. That is a situation that I would definitely have a problem with, and it is also a definite situation where I'd be very vocal about it. You know what I mean? Because a lot of Christians in this country don't realize, and a lot of atheists, I might add, are actually homophobic too. I've encountered a couple within the last couple of months here on my channel, but that's it. It just amazes me to see the amount of hate that these type of people like to dish out against people who are different from them, you know, without taking the time to actually learn about these individuals and become educated. You know what I mean? It's something that really amazes me to see people stoop this low, you know. And me, I have always taken the time, you know, to actually sit down and get to learn about people, learn about the experiences that they have, you know, and that's something that I have always enjoyed. I've never really had a problem with anybody, you know, whether they were transgender, where they were, you know, gay, lesbian, where they, you know, anything else. And evidently, some people do, you know, and they will stop at nothing when it comes to spewing hatred, when it comes to spewing bigotry, and it's nonsense. You know, it really is to me. And as far as my children are concerned, you know, if you know, one of the things that I have been being accused of with the latest video I made is the fact that I allegedly want to talk to my own children about my own sexual wants and needs. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? You know? And I just look in the fucking article that I placed in the description box, and you will see plainly what the article is about and what the whole situation is about. And apparently they don't want to take the time to actually go into the information box and get the information that they need. They just want to spew poison. You know what I mean?
They see what they consider a headline and then just start going from there.
Yeah. And it's just nonsense. It really is, Kazoom, you know. Just like, you know, like you know, before we go even further, when I first subscribed to your channel, you had just made that video about Dramagate. When you had that black cowboy hat.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was the first day I subscribed to your channel. You know what I mean? And that was almost 2 years ago?
Yeah, it was a while back.
Yeah. And ever since then, you know, I've liked your videos. I liked your work, you know, because I look at you, I don't see a gay person. I don't see a person that is weird or whatever the case might be. I look at you as a human being, you know. If I want to learn more about you, I'm going to educate myself and I'm going to ask the right questions, you know. I ain't going to be like these other types of individuals who want to jump to uneducated conclusions about everything. You know what I mean? I want to take the time to get to know a person. I want to take the time to genuinely have a rational conversation about things, you know. And that's what some people, unfortunately, are not into. And it makes me sick to see people like that, you know. But then I realize that go ahead.
Oh, I was like, I've had my moments of doing the thing of looking at a headline and going on a rant. I've had plenty of moments like that. So I was just thinking, you know, how I can actually relate a little bit with how people could have taken things.
Yeah.
So, but I've tried to get better about it. But like, there are a number of subjects where the outcome of some ideas end up being different than the scholarly, like if you get to a lot of studying about a subject, the outcome of the way that other people implement those ideas sometimes ends up being quite different than when you actually read about what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
There's a number of subjects like that. And sometimes it's hard to decide which side is more important, the scholarly side or how the outcome of the way that people will push forth ideas are.
Yeah. I've always lived by, you know, always trust an individual who seeks the truth, but never trust an individual who's already claimed that they have it. You know, and because a million people on this planet can claim that they've already have the truth, and this, you know, can cover pretty much everything, you know, but I've always been the type, you know, to search for it yourself, you know, come up with your own conclusions, you know, and that's the way that I've been, you know. When I was a Christian for over 30 years, you know, I didn't even know what an atheist was, Kazoo, you know, to be honest with you. I was that shielded from, you know, everything around me, you know, and it was something that I regret. It was something that I wish never happened, to be honest with you, because if it wasn't for, let's see, if it wasn't for people here in the great debate community and stuff like that, I wouldn't have looked at things differently. You know what I mean? I would have continued to just live the lame ass life that I continue to live, you know. And go ahead.
Oh, we're evolutionarily, biologically geared towards believing in superstitious types of beliefs. We're just sort of wired that way, and it's so easy for us to be information lemmings.
Yeah.
So to get past that can be a difficult route for people, even those who are atheists, even those who are already have some beliefs that have looked past a lot of things. It's still so easy for anyone to be an information lemming, if for lack of better terms.
Oh, and by the way, hello, Def Shell 2. I saw you in the comment section. So when it comes to, you know, indoctrination and trying to get, you know, children to, you know, behave like the LGBT community, that's just completely ridiculous, you know, because I think there's a difference between indoctrination and education, you know, and I think that pretty much a lot of people can see that difference, you know. A person would have to be a fucking idiot not to see the difference. And so
something I want to correct. When I said information lemmings, I should have said disinformation lemmings.
Oh, okay.
That makes it more correct. Sorry, continue.
Okay. Yeah, and education, the proper way, you know, like you were saying earlier at the beginning of the conversation, is teaching young children how to think, not what to think, you know. Having them being educated about different cultures, about different people, you know, about people that, you know, come from different backgrounds from all over the world, have different sexual orientations, have different, you know, walks of life, if you will, you know, isn't, you know, indoctrinating them in some certain type of behavior or anything like that. It's them, you know, having the opportunity of becoming educated, you know, and it's about tolerance, it's about acceptance, and it's about things like that, you know. But you get these people who have the proverbial wool over their eyes, and they right away think that somehow education is the worst fucking enemy on the earth, like global warming, you know what I mean?
Well, it's strange how there are some people who think that teaching tolerance is indoctrination just within itself.
Yeah.
And I find that concept so odd. It's just mind-boggling to me. I mean, I guess though. Well, I've just realized as I said that. What if people were trying to say something like, "Well, we need to have tolerance of pedophilia"? Could someone consider that indoctrination if someone was trying to teach that tolerance and pedophilia? I was just trying to think of exceptions to what I was just saying after I said it. So,
well, to me, you know, pedophilia in its entirety is something to me that is you know, it's not even considered to be education, if you will. I mean, granted, people are going to find out about it eventually, you know what I mean? But it's something that I don't think, you know, is appropriate. You know, it's as far as pedophilia is concerned, it's one of those things, you know, that I think, well, it's a very, you know, it shouldn't be an issue at all, because I think, you know, pedophilia is a terrible, terrible position to have. You know what I mean? I know it was make me sound like I'm a hypocrite. You know what I mean? I could see where people would see that, but you know, it's a dangerous behavior, you know, and I think that children should not be exposed to that. But when it comes to educations about people of different sexual orientations or different backgrounds, even religious backgrounds and stuff like that, I think there's a big difference, you know, as far as that is concerned. And
What of the people who? I'm sorry, I keep making us go off subject a bit. But what of the people who try to say that pedophilia itself is a sexual orientation?
it's not a sexual orientation. I will fight that to the bitter end. It's not.
That's how I feel too. But I'm just saying. I mean, what of those people? How do you argue against those people for the sake of when people are trying to teach? If someone is trying to teach tolerance, and they try to claim that pedophilia is a sexual orientation, and then they try to say we need to be tolerant of that, how does that get addressed? And how do we differentiate that from other types of arguments about tolerance?
Well, I think when it comes to the safety of children, you know, that shouldn't be taught, you know, that type of behavior shouldn't be tolerated, you know, because it's an action. It's not a sexual preference, or not a preference, excuse me. It's not a sexual orientation in any way, shape, or form. It's an unwanted action towards children, you know. It may not be an unwanted action with the offender doing the action, but it is definitely an unwanted action regardless, you know. And when it comes to children, you know, I think that there has to be a line drawn with that particular issue, because again, it's not education to me. It's an action, you know, it's a harmful action to children, you know, and that's what I come up with. What do you think?
I tend to agree with that. There's a little things in the back of my mind. So what about what these people have said? What about what these people have said? And I'm thinking to myself, you know, well, what if someone is a pedophile, but they haven't ever they haven't ever actually made any actions, but they find children sexually attractive.
To be honest with you, I have never known an individual like that, so I really couldn't speak on that issue. You know, all of the ones that I've heard about have always violated a child in some way. You know, I've never heard about an individual who just thinks about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I really couldn't comment on that issue. You know, I mean, you know,
I've personally known two people who were that way.
yeah.
And I did not know how to address it. I did not know what to do. I didn't know how to argue it. I just know it made me angry.
Yeah. Well, I've always said, you know, people are always going to, you know, think about what they want to think about, you know, and it might be disturbing to a lot of individuals when they think about what they think about, you know, but, you know, I don't know, man, it's a hard topic. You know, this is, you know,
I'm sorry for making it go a different direction than what it was originally intended.
Yeah.
Now when you're talking about how true empiricism was claiming that atheists are not being discriminated against, I'm just going, wait a minute, that's, you know, what about, like, I mean, people make such a huge deal out of if oh no, there might be a politician that's atheist. I mean, how many atheist politicians are there out there in general?
I
mean,
can't think of any.
We will have a gay or lesbian president before we have an atheist president.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. We would have a transgender president before we would have an atheist president. Is just the way that things are. It seems, I mean, if you go by the statistics, atheists seem to be the least trusted group. I mean, possibly, I mean, aren't they right around the same level as what our culture thinks about Muslims? Isn't it right around the same thing, or is it even lower than that?
It's even lower than Muslims. People trust Muslims more than they trust atheists. And it's something that really pisses me off. So when people like True Empiricism say that there's no discrimination against atheists, he has his head so far up his ass that he needs a window in his stomach to look out of, you know. And because, for one, like you were saying just a minute ago, Kazoo, that no atheist can ever hold the presidency, okay, simply because they are atheists. That within itself is discrimination, because it doesn't matter if the atheist has all the qualifications in the fucking world to be a president. They still are not going to be able to be a president. Number two, if you look at all the bills that they're passing through Congress now, we're in Indiana with the Religious Freedom Act, and then all of these other states who want to copy that shit, you know, and it's ridiculous. It really is when you look at it that way. And all of these other bills that they're trying to sneak in about, you know, banning the same-sex marriage, banning and like I told True Empiricism in a comment, I told him it doesn't just stop at atheists. Christians are discriminating against everybody out there, especially the LGBT community. You know what I mean? Because they think, like I was saying earlier, you know, about other individuals, they think that these people are horrible, that they are less than human, Kazoo, you know? And it's something that I can't fathom, the amount of stupidity I'm seeing coming from these people, you know? And
I'm starting to wonder whether or not we're going to, at some point, in order to be able to fight back against some of these forces, whether or not there's a number of things that we may have to start labeling as a religion.
Yeah,
like we might have to start labeling, even though it's not correct, just to be able to fight against this shit. We might have to start labeling atheism as a religion. We might start to have to label acceptance of gay, lesbian, and transgendered individuals, transgender, not with an ed, transgender individuals. As a religion as well. I mean, we might start having to do stuff like that just to fight against this shit. Because if they continue to put these things into place that says that religious people can discriminate, or, you know, how does the other side fight that back? I mean, if atheism isn't a religion, then atheists would, if that kind of law got passed everywhere, atheists wouldn't be able to do the same thing back against those that are religious. They wouldn't be able to have equal discrimination if they chose. So it's only special rights for religious people.
Well, from what I understand, this was from a previous hangout I was involved with. I forgot what the guy's name was, but he had brought up the situation where, I guess legally, they had declared atheism to be a religion, I guess. But it really doesn't mean shit, because there was a bunch of red tape and stuff like that, and that, you know, but anyway, I believe, you know, that we have to fight these systems with ideas. And again, I think, you know, in a lot of ways, you know, first and foremost, I hope that a Republican doesn't win the presidency next year, you know. Because if they do, we're basically fucked.
Yeah, this is not a good time for us to suddenly get a Republican president. This would be
Well, look right now.
I mean, I could see things starting to go as bad as the Bush administration, you know.
Well, for one thing now, if you, I was getting ready to make a video about this. I found an article about I forgot the type of people that were involved with the situation. I guess a group of religious officials from Pentecostal, from Catholic, from all types of other denominations of Christianity were getting together basically, and they were making up these documents, or fixing up these documents to try and prevent the Supreme Court from legalizing LG or gay marriage, same-sex marriage on a federal level, because I guess a week from now that they're going to decide on that. And all of these religious people are getting together and they're trying to keep the Supreme Court from doing that. You know what I mean? What happens if we get a Republican in office, in the presidential office, and he's going to totally fuck shit up for the LGBT community? And not only for them, he's going to do it for atheists. He's going to do it for, a lot of other people. Why? Because it's somehow against a threat against him and his religion, if you will. You know what I mean? And it's going to be something that's going to be rough if a Republican gets office. I'm actually pulling for Hillary on this issue because, for one, she is a very strong supporter of the LGBT community. She is a very strong supporter for a lot of things that Republicans aren't in support of. She's for women's rights, and speaking of women's rights, Republicans are so hard up. These Christian conservatives are so hard up on their stupid ass beliefs. I recently found an article about this. Republicans, there's this Republican woman, imagine the irony on this one. They were concocting this new bill, I guess, where they were going to exclude, what is it called, incest and rape, from abortions, basically saying that they can't get an abortion because of incest and rape, because there's no way that incest and rape can be verified. You know what I mean? And it's,
on the abortion issue, I really wish there was more. There was I take a very unusual approach to that subject in that I happen to agree. I think abortion has to be legal right now. It has to be legal. We have to allow people to do it until we were to have a technology available everywhere that's basically like artificial wombs, where a baby can be removed from the mother at almost any point in the pregnancy and raised artificially. If we had that kind of technology everywhere, then I think it would be the idea of making abortion illegal in some instances, I think, would be okay. But until we have that, because I think life does. I'm really rare on this. I think life does start at a conception, but we have to allow someone to have the right to their own body. And if something is growing inside someone, whether it's another person or not, that person has the right to remove whatever they want from their body. Something growing inside them, they have the right to remove it. And I think if people took that stance a little bit more often, it would be harder for the Republicans to argue against it.
Yeah. And well, with me, hold on a second. I'm checking the comment section of the deal here. Okay. All right. With me, I've always, like I've said before, I've always been a big champion when it comes to women's rights. I've always been a big champion when it comes to men's rights. You know what I mean? When I look at the situation, I don't look at it as a feminist, because there have been times that I've been accused of being a feminist. You know what I mean? because I'm quite vocal, when it comes to, women's rights being violated. So I can understand why some people would come to that conclusion, Kazum. But when I look at women and men in general, I look at them from a egalitarian standpoint. You know what I mean? I believe in equality for everyone. I don't see, like I told you before, I don't see penis, I don't see vagina. I see a human being. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All the way around. A person's gender doesn't matter to me. Now, if a woman wants to join the military and go into the infantry program, I am all for it.
I mean, if it comes to the mission statements of feminism, the mission statements of it, I would be a feminist. I would call myself a feminist. If that's what feminism really stood for, I'd be there all the way. Yes,
Yeah.
But that's not what it seems to have become. But no, I am totally for equal rights for women. I am totally for us being able to treat men and women the same. I am, equally, I should say. I think women should have all the same opportunities as men, and men the same opportunities as women. So I'm with you on the egalitarian thing, totally.
Yeah. And so when I look at Republicans, that's not what they want to see. They don't want to see people that are equal. They don't want to see people, make decisions for themselves, especially women. I think that a lot of these religious individuals in office, all the way from a city mayor to the president, if you will, I'm not saying the current president we have, I haven't really been paying attention to him that much lately, but, I've noticed a lot of runner-ups like Mitt Romney and Rick Santorum and all of these other individuals, who have these disgusting views on, what women's rights are, what men's rights are, what education is. You know what I mean?
What religious rights are as well.
Yeah.
Santorum, oh my God.
Yeah. And
have you seen some of the clips of him from Right Wing Watch?
Well, I've seen some clips that were provided on YouTube. I'm not sure if they were from Right Wing Watch, but it's definitely something to be concerned about. It really is. And when it comes to equal rights, that's what I stand for completely. I don't like to sit here and see men and women getting stepped on by these religious individuals in office who want nothing more than to line their pockets with profit. That's all they want. They don't really care what people think. They don't really care.
When it comes to politicians in general, though, I hate to admit this, but almost all politicians, with the way that our system is, almost all politicians on the left and the right are using people.
Yeah.
The left uses minorities, the right uses religious people. Yeah. And so they're all wanting to line their pockets, and it ends up being the choices between, do you want the people that are trying to help minorities, or do you want to vote for the people that want to help religious people? And I'll choose to vote for the ones that want to help minorities, even if the end result is that they want to make money. At least they're wanting to make money from something that's a halfway decent cause.
Yeah. And so back to the subject of discrimination against atheists, something really bugs me, because obviously people who say that, like true empiricism, say that there's no discrimination against atheists is something that is so fucking ridiculous to me, because in certain countries right now, you can be killed for being an atheist. I think we have seen this evidence from time to time when bloggers, from other countries, like maybe Afghanistan, for example, or certain places like that, get captured and killed simply because they post blogs of how they don't believe in religion anymore and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and they don't even have to say that anything bad about religion. They can just state that they don't believe in religion, and bam,
they're done.
It's pretty disgusting.
And I truly believe this next thing, because I truly believe this, that if certain Christian fundamentalists in this country get their way, if they were to actually get their way with a lot of issues when it comes to atheism or the LGBT community, I think that they would probably kill us off. You know what I mean? And this is the truth. I don't think they'd put us off. I think they'd put us all in prison. Well, I don't think they'd kill us, but I think they'd put us in prison. There's also there's even some that are, was it someone in Congress right now that was trying to say that, no, maybe it wasn't. There was some controversy recently, and I feel bad that I can't remember the specifics of it, but they were trying to suggest that they think that everyone should be forced to go to church. Yeah. And not only that, I've even heard, I can't remember where the source was, so I wouldn't be able to provide it, but I've even heard certain high-powered individuals within the Republican Party talk about how, you know, that they should build a big fenced area, right? And gather up all of the LGBT community, you know what I mean? And put them within this fence. Like if it's somehow a concentration camp, if you will, they want to corral all of these individuals who are from the LGBT community and drop food to them via helicopter, like if they were dogs, you know what I mean? This is something that they actually wanted to do. And then you got another lawyer or a lawyer type individual, I think I made a video about this, who wants to put it in a bill, and he actually submitted it to Congress that, you know, they should be allowed to shoot gay and lesbian individuals in the head with a bullet.
That was in California, I believe.
Yeah. And it's just like, what the fuck, man? You know what I mean? How can they come up with this type of shit?
Well, you know, but I think the truth of the matter is the reason why some of these people are saying such extreme things right now is because they're realizing that they are losing.
Yes.
And some of these things that they're doing are sort of the last throes of them having power that they've been so used to having, especially since the McCarthyism period of the 50s, where, you know, religion kind of ruled the roost. That's the period when we put "In God We Trust" on the rest of our money. That's when we put "Under God" in our pledge.
Yeah.
You know, and that's when we were scared of communism, and so we have to. And so when we started just ratcheting up religion all over the place, and you know, ever since then we've been trying to repair some of that damage. Although there's more history to it beyond the 50s, of course, but. You know, just people are so used to having this power, and when that power is they're seeing that power is going away, they're going to do just about anything to get that power back again, or to something to guarantee that eventually they'll have that power again.
Yeah. And that's all they're wanting, Kazum. They want that power. They want to push. How do I put it? They want to push. Social development back. They want to push society back about 50 fucking years. You know, they have they have a plethora of complaints when it comes to, you know, women, for example, having the right to do certain things when it comes to their own personal health, when it comes to, you know, everyday life, if you will, you know, and it's just disgusting. It really is. So when I look at these types of people within the Republican Party, or when I look at people in general with these same types of views, you know, I honestly think, you know, that this type of thinking is actually poison, you know, and it's definitely not good for anybody. You know, it's not good for society. It's eventually going to cause a lot of civil unrest, if you will.
I mean, look at what they're trying to do with school books isn't the right word. There's another, and they're trying to change the curriculum in Texas to have a different a right-wing vision of our history, and I don't know, just there are unfortunately a lot of Republican Reconstructionists and Dominionists out there that are just, I don't know, it's scary how many there are out there. Hey, Gary.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hello. Hey, Gary, what's going on? Look
what I woke up to, you guys. Cool.
What's your opinion on all of this stuff we've been talking about? Have you seen any of it?
I just saw you guys try to put out the invitation. I didn't know what you were talking about.
Well, we were talking about discrimination against atheists and the LGBT community at large, and we're also talking about the difference between education and indoctrination, because there are some people out there who obviously have a hard time understanding the difference between the two. And it's something that I wanted to talk about in this hangout, you know. So what do you think?
I recently caught a lecture by Aaron Raw about the very same subject. And what he said is freaking scary. I am so glad I'm not in school now. Especially not in school in Texas, because of the stuff they're pulling down there. About how Moses apparently was one of the founding fathers. I don't fucking think so. Holy shit. And by the time they're done with the LGBT, atheists is next. If we don't stand together, we're definitely going to fall apart.
Yeah, well, see, here's another perfect example, Gary, and I forgot to tell you about this, Kazoo, why I think here's another nail in the coffin when it comes to atheists being discriminated against. There's a video I did. I'm pretty sure that you probably may have seen it, guys, but I'm not sure yet. In that video, I talked about how this atheist mother in Tennessee, if you will, you know, found out that the Bible man dude was going to this
oh yeah, I heard
elementary school, you know, dressed up as the Bible man, teaching the kids the gospel and shit like that. Well, she obviously knew that it was against the law, and rightfully so, you know, because it was in a public school and whatnot. But after the school apparently, you know, canceled the whole program, you know, she started getting death threats on her Facebook page and stuff like that about, you know, wanting to throw her young atheist son a housewarming party, and then sending her a picture of a burning home on top of that. You know what I mean?
Nothing quite says Christian love like a death threat.
Yeah, and if that ain't discrimination, I don't know what is. What do you think about that, Kazoo?
Awful.
Yeah, it really is, you know, and that's just another prime example of discrimination to me, you know, because they want to only teach kids one side of everything. You know, they right away want to discredit the other. And when an atheist mother or when someone who is an atheist in general want to stand up and fight for their rights, their legal rights, they are discriminated against. The students even face a more drastic situation because they're singled out by their peers in school. And then here comes the whole bully situation. You know, the kids are often singled out and bullied against, and it creates a lot of situations where I think that it raised uncomfortably the suicide rate, because there's a lot of people that are, you know, suicidal because of bullying, you know, people that are bullies, you know. So when you have an entire school of kids, just, well, I'm not going to say entire school, but a large number of them.
Feel like it.
Yeah.
What's kind of sad is, like, they're saying that, you know, oh well, bullying. If it's people saying they're saying their religious views, that's not really bullying. But if you say something bad about our religion, that's bullying, and that's that's persecution.
Yeah.
And it's just like, holy shit. I mean, some of these people, like, I mean, we've seen this every year where they feel persecuted because someone said happy holidays instead of Merry Christmas, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, I did a video about that. It's entitled "Get Off the Cross, Asshole."
Yeah.
I just drew a parallel between real Christians who are being persecuted and the United States being persecuted. In Iraq, it's illegal to be Christian in some parts.
Yeah.
That's
Christians
actually,
everywhere here. They're everywhere. It's like water.
Well, you know, actually,
It's persecuting American Christians. I ended the video by saying, on behalf of the little Christian girl who in Iraq who's being ass raped right now, I'm sure she really feels your fucking pain.
yeah, that's true, because in this country, Christians have no idea what persecution is. You know what I mean? They right away scream persecution because someone disagrees with them. It's actually, you know, that pathetic. And when I think of, you know, discrimination, these guys have a terrible understanding, you know, of what actually needs to happen to remedy situations. And to me, every time I hear these people who want to discriminate against other people who think differently from them, who have a, you know, who are just plain different from them, you know, I get upset because these people really don't have any passion for their fellow human beings. They are so fixated on living for a reward in the end that they don't really care about anything else. They just want to sit here, shoot their mouths off, and shove their pathetic fairy tales down everybody's throats.
well, it's because some of them, so many of them, unfortunately, and then some people will be pissed at me for saying this, but they've replaced their own sense of empathy and they replaced empathy with the set of dogma.
Mhm.
And those that don't, and they act like those that don't follow that dogma are horrible people, and as long as you're following the dogma, you're a good person.
It's like a demented gambler doubling down on a really bad bet. They're always wondering, why didn't it work? It's like it's ridiculous. And I guess they get some kind of, oh wait, page is unresponsive.
What are you talking about?
I just well, you're frozen. Your image is frozen.
Well, your image is frozen, but we can hear you.
Okay. I just got like some little thing blinked up and said page is unresponsive.
You may have to hit F5 and come back.
No,
Okay.
the reason why I think my image is frozen, is that what you're seeing, Gary?
Yeah.
Was
The
mine
reason-
too?
Yeah.
No, the reason why mine's frozen, I think. Try now. Is it frozen?
Yeah.
See, we're both frozen, so he needs to hit F5 and then come back into the Hangout. Just hit F5 and then hit OK and all that stuff, and it should be fine when you come back.
Hey, Kazoom, can you do me a
Yes.
favor?
What?
Can you post the link in the comment section for me? There's an individual.
Sure. Hold on.
Yeah, there's an individual that wants to come in. He goes by the name of Qualia Time, I think. Forgive me if I mispronounced your name.
Hold on a second here. Here we go. Live now. And pause and come on. There we go. Oh shoot! I didn't uncheck the box for the Google Plus thing too. So anyone who's in my Google Plus feed will see this too.
Okay.
Should I delete that and redo it, or is that okay?
That's fine. That's completely fine.
All right.
Yeah, that way he can come in, because he was wanting to come in too and talk about things, because he, I noticed in the comment section he was talking about he was an ex-Jehovah's Witness. And I think that he would offer a unique perspective to this discussion that we are having.
Thin Ice made this comment. he or she said, the idea that the president makes a difference is itself laughable. The U.S. foreign policy has been seamless financially since the Federal Reserve took hold in the 1900s, and the foreign policy has been a thinly disguised world domination strategy since World War II. You can forget the LGBT crap. I am disappointed you think centralized control is the answer. It just makes things worse. And I'm going, that's weird. To say that the president doesn't make much of a difference, that's to say that it doesn't make much of a difference, I think is laughable.
Yeah.
I mean, the president may not have as much power as many people think the president has, but to say that he has almost no power is just ridiculous as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. And
so you're talking about how the,
as far as, you know, foreign policy is concerned, you know, I think, you know, and I used to be a champion for Obama, believe it or not, in the beginning, but I think he has done horrible, you know, with a lot of issues regarding foreign policy. And it's just something that's a entirely different discussion from what we're talking about now. So, you know, but if, you know, we can sure have a hangout about that later on, you know. But as far, you know, as being concerned of the LGBT community and you know, and the atheist community, if you will, if you want to call it that, you know, I think, you know, we should, I don't know, I believe that, you know, if we're going to talk about the president for a minute, I believe that the president should worry about taking care of his own country first. You know what I mean? I think that we should quit sticking our nose in everybody else's business. You know what I mean? And one of the things that really pisses me off about some people is that they make the comment that, you know, that I'm hearing an echo.
Oh, is it? Let me see if it still is there when I mute my mic.
Are you there? How about now?
hello?
Okay, the echo stopped. Okay.
It's still stopped. Okay.
Yeah, it stopped now. One of the things, you know, is now I went off track. What was I talking about?
Well, you were for a little bit. You were talking about basically the United States being the world's nannies, so to speak.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I hate the most is when some people say that the troops are going over there and fighting for our freedom to talk, or fighting for our freedom to talk shit, basically. And this is where I really take offense with that saying, because to me personally, I don't know, you know, you guys are more than welcome to correct me if I'm wrong, but to me personally, we haven't fought for freedom since World War II. And anything after that has just been for profit, I think, personally. Look what happened with the Bush dynasty, if you will. A big, giant oil conglomerate. All of these people, you know, wanted to, you know, in my personal view, wanted to unilaterally attack a country just for the oil.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, had no concern, you know, with the American people. And that's something that I have a big problem with. Because, see, when we went to Iraq, they were basically under the assumption that somehow Saddam Hussein had WMDs, you know. Despite the fact that that was not the case, there was never any found. Right after the planes ran into the buildings, what happened? We went straight to Iraq. We went to the wrong fucking country to begin with. Not to mention the fact that it took us over 10 years to find the actual dude that was responsible for it, when he was hiding in plain sight.
Well, I mean, we knew a little bit or quite a bit earlier who was responsible for it, but then we never went after him. We just kept, let's just attack a country that had nothing to do with the attack.
Yeah.
You know, it's so strange how this strange wool that was pulled over people's eyes with that. I never understood it.
Never let a catastrophe go unutilized.
Well,
Yeah.
for instance, if you look at it this way.
The mess took us this far. We could go just a little bit farther.
Yeah. So we look at it this way. What happened when the war in Iraq tore everything down? Who got the big contract to rebuild over there? Dick Cheney, the president and owner of Halliburton. Okay.
Well, just think about how long it took for us to
their own weight. I'm sorry.
What?
They put up buildings that fell apart under their own weight.
Yeah. And then
well, I just think it's strange how, you know, it took us 2 years to actually do an attack on any sort of country or anything. I mean, it was 2001 when we got attacked, and it was 2003 when we went into Iraq. You know, all that time spent, and I don't know. It just still boggles my mind when I look back. How could people support that?
Yeah.
And but at the time, and this is something that people seem to forget. A lot of Republicans seem to forget this. There was this talk of, you can't disagree with the president. How dare you disagree with the president? And that's what they were saying on anytime someone would say anything negative about what Bush was proposing, the Bush administration was proposing. That was the response. How dare you disagree? You're un-American for disagreeing. And there are even some Republicans trying to claim that people should be jailed just for simply disagreeing with the president. Yeah. It was nuts during that period. And people seem to forget how nasty it got in that regard. They just completely forget it, and you try to mention, oh, it wasn't that way. I said, yes, it was. I lived through that. I remember what happened on that. I remember even on the news. It was like McCarthyism all over again, in a different way. You know, a media commentator saying something negative about the president. Oh no! Yeah. Look what we got now, where Republicans are just saying Obama's the devil. Obama. I mean, they can say all that shit now. When the Democrats don't try to tell people you can't say that, you know. But it's just weird. It's just so strange.
And if you notice that the only reason why they're coming up with all this bullshit against Obama now, from the point when they first started this bullshit, is because, remember when Obama made that announcement that he supported the LGBT community? Remember that? And that's when all the shit started hitting the fan, and the Republicans, you know, and the conservatives started going after him for all this stupid shit, saying that basically he was an insufficient president and that he didn't know what he was doing, and he was causing more problems than what he was actually worth, despite the fact that he actually lowered the deficit. I don't remember the specifics on that, but he did lower the deficit. He did catch Osama bin Laden, which George Bush couldn't do for over 10 fucking years, or Bill Clinton for that matter.
The list of what Obama has done good is huge. It's just this huge list. If you look around on the net, you can probably do a quick search. The list is huge for the good things that he's done. But right away, when Obama was elected, immediately they were already saying that he wasn't fit to be president. Immediately, the Republicans were saying that kind of stuff right from the very, very start.
Yeah.
The reason why they didn't find Obama so quickly is because Pakistan was hiding him. Yeah, he was hiding. They were hiding him. He was a source of revenue. They were giving money to help look for him. Where was the incentive for them to find him? They knew exactly where he was. They were protecting him. They were getting money and political favors out of the U.S. They had no reason to actually do anything. In this war, that's who we're relying on as an ally.
Yeah, but I noticed we have Vladimir Putin and Thaddeus. You guys got any opinions of what we've discussed in the hangout so far? I'm interested.
You want to go first there?
Go ahead,
Oh.
Thaddeus.
Okay, I thought he was going to go first. I thought what you've been saying has actually been, for the most part, pretty valid. I've noticed things you've been talking about, like you'll notice them, but you won't say anything because you don't want to look like an idiot in public. And because I have like the whole religious background thing going on, so I do understand when the atheists are saying like they're prosecuted and all that. Yet at the same time, I also get where the believers are coming from it as well.
To what?
It's kind of
In what regard, Thaddeus?
Okay, like for an instance, well, they feel that since, well, with the whole secular movement that's going on, especially like someone with like my mother or something, they'd say, oh, like, well, we're being prosecuted because people are starting to think our ideas are silly, kind of idea. And you got to remember that from their standpoint, it's true.
Yeah, well,
so people don't respect their ideas.
Well, on one hand, I could understand, what Christians are thinking about, but on the other hand, I'm going to have to disagree with a lot of things that they try to come up with, Thaddeus. And I hope you don't take this as being, me disrespecting you, because you are a religious person, are you?
Yes.
Okay. I don't want to sound like I'm disrespectful or anything, but a lot of the ideas that Christians are coming up with in this country, are having a significant negative impact in this country as far as the LGBT community is concerned, and as far as women's rights are concerned. You got, like I was talking about earlier, you got conservative or Christian conservatives, trying to bring forth policies, to Congress, if you will, and trying to get bills passed where it's going to make it so difficult for LGBT members to get married, for one, for women to get abortions, if you will, and they're trying to make things to the point where they want to create loopholes so that they can introduce, the Bible into the public schools, when in all actuality, I personally think that, the Bible has no business in public schooling. Now, if a person wants to take their child to a private school, if you will, they're more than welcome to do that, and but those are some of the issues that I have, and what do you think about that?
I say that a lot of your points, believe it or not, are very valid. I don't actually am not a big fan of how my religion has been treating politics and everything, believe it or not. I wish they would be a bit more moderate with everything. I mean, I've always kind of had this bias towards people that believe the same things as I did. So, it's like it's almost like I've had this mentality for a bit of my life, like, I love God, can't stand the believers kind of thing.
Yeah.
I always thought atheists and moderates should work together. Our biggest problem is the zealots. We have the same problem. We have the same troublemakers in our lives. A good example of someone who should be mocked, ridiculed, and questioned is Jim Imhoff. He read the Bible as proof against climate change in Congress. What the hell?
Like I said, that's why it's really hard to take people that believe the same things as me pretty seriously, even though I'm supposed to.
Yeah. I don't fault somebody believing that if they just stayed in their church and stayed in their lives and stayed in their church-run schools, fine. But things like abstinence only, my problem with abstinence only education can be summed up in this. there are adults who spent a good chunk of their lives preparing mentally and physically to go into priesthood and go into positions where they have to be hands off, no sex, and they can't keep it in their pants. What does these idiots think a horny teenager is going to do better than that?
Well, like I said, if it's like well,
Yeah.
I think in
I'm
that
just trying
case,
to prove my position on this situation. I'm not someone who's out some rabbit foaming at the mouth anti-theist. I'm just trying to put what I think out there. I'm not trying to put words in your mouth or attack you. I'm just saying.
You know, I'm not, saying that all Christians are participating in this type of questionable behavior. There are people that are actually pushing for a separation of church and state, and I'm talking about theists. They are actually pushing for a separation of church and state. There are some out there that are doing that, and that's appreciated. I will say that, first and foremost. But unfortunately, there are other individuals out there who don't want to see that happen. Because there are a lot of Christian fundamentalists out there who want a theocracy in this country. They even want the Bible to become what do they call it, a national book or something? I can't remember the precise term for it. And stuff like that, And I think these are nothing more than horrible ideas, and it's something that I've always been concerned about, and granted, there have been times when I make my videos and it sounds like I'm, including all Christians, but I do realize that, there are certain Christians out there who are, not necessarily on the same side as atheists as far as theistic beliefs are concerned, but they are based, show some of the similar concerns when it comes to social development, when it comes to things that matter the most in our country, And to me, that seems to be something that I, really admire. But there's a large number of individuals out there, like I said, who don't want to see that happen.
Look at
I can't speak for everyone, but
go ahead, Thaddeus.
On the state level, it's a bigger problem. Look at Idaho trying to declare itself a Christian state, and then you have Oklahoma, who made quite literally a breathtakingly bad law they're trying to pass. I don't know if they ever passed their Senate, where if you want a marriage license, you have to go to a priest. It has to be Christian.
Yeah, but
I'm sorry. Go on.
Most countries that are majority of atheists and have the least amount of religious persecution against non-believers are countries that have a state church, and those churches pay taxes and nobody goes to them. I believe it's Sweden or Scotland as a state church, and they're one of the most both of those countries actually are both very high quality of life, high amount of non-believers, have people in politics openly being non-believers. I don't see anything wrong with state-run churches besides it's completely illegal and against the Constitution. I don't see it as a problem because we are the one country with no state church or national church, and we have the most people that don't understand science. We have all religions just get a free pass. There's an estimate out there that if just the Christian churches in America pay taxes, you could feed all the hungry people like 2 pieces of bread, water, and a pound of beans a week. for just taxing that. And if you melted down all the gold in the Vatican, not the other priceless shit, just the gold, you could feed every human being with population increases for the next 100 years. But, you know, Jesus never fed it. So I guess that's why they love. But I don't see anything wrong with it. The thing is I'm totally, I try to push freedom of religion and let people realize that means I'm gunning for the Satanists. I'm gunning for the Hindus. I'm gunning for the Muslims, even the extreme Muslims. I would have to be pro them too, instead of just, oh, we need freedom of religion and be a Christian and then get upset when Satanists pass out coloring books in Florida. I think that shit's awesome. I think they should all be equal, and I don't think they're going to be put in their place until all religion is equal, and that won't happen until America fucks up and makes a state or national church.
Yep, the darker side of my beliefs you're exposing. Pretty good there.
But I'm not threatened. I'm not threatened by the more states screw up, the more that the states push their particular flavor of Christianity on people, the worse it's going to be for them. Because of the internet and information, you can see both sides of the story and some third person's viewpoint on a story now, unlike growing up. So, yeah, let them fuck up. Let them do it.
It's both the blessing and the curse of the information age.
Yep. Christianity's greatest enemy is Christianity.
Actually, it's Islam. There's 1.5 billion Muslims, and Muslims are way more dangerous than Christians. Christians are just whiny.
I mean, in this country.
In this country, still, I think Islam is the most terrible faith-based thing on the planet. Because I used to be a Muslim after I left Jehovah, and it is even easier to justify everything if you're a Muslim.
Yeah, there's a website called Bare Naked Islam. I've seen it. Oh man, it had a little child. It had a child proudly standing with a severed head in his hands. Such is the power of religion unrestrained. With no restraints, that's how far it can go. But that's not something to be repulsed by. That's something to be proudly take a photograph and put it on the mantle. Gee.
Well, it takes faith to kill yourself, because people are fucking selfish as shit. All people are selfish. Atheists, believers, we're selfish, and to kill yourself requires faith. I don't think anyone who's ever killed themselves, unless they were committing suicide because they were fucked up in the head or depressed, people killing themselves for a purpose requires faith. Faith-based thinking should be what's attacked and not specific dogmas, because faith-based thinking is what is truly dangerous in this world.
Dogma is a ball gag. It never lets anybody express any ideas that's not allowed outside the doctrine. It's insane.
There's reasons for that. Jehovah's Witnesses, they keep you from just reading freely and learning freely. They have appropriate ways to learn about other religions. And the reason why they do that is because when you don't have shit, you don't even have an argument. All you have is fallacies, and all you have is a cohesive, logical story in its own environment. Like in Star Trek, if somebody energizes themselves to another planet, it makes perfect sense in the Star Trek universe. And people would get upset if Spock started to cry, because in the Star Trek universe, he's not supposed to have any emotions. that's the kind of thing that religions are. They're cohesive internally only. And once you start to learn, Jehovah's Witnesses especially put a lot of emphasis on the truth and the truth and the truth. If you take that as a child, being encouraged to pronounce the truth and learn why everyone else is wrong, and then you're actually given free reign, you end up realizing that all supernatural belief systems are equally not anything you have to train your children to be afraid of or to learn about in any way, because there isn't a boogie monster, there isn't mermaids, there aren't gods, there's no demons, and there's no heavens or hell. There's not. Those things you don't have to arm your children with. You have to teach them about, people touching them. You have to teach them about good and bad, man and woman, that race is not a thing, just like there's orange cats and black cats. Those things you have to teach your kids. You don't have to teach children why to believe in things that are supernatural, because supernatural is a code word for doesn't fucking exist. It just doesn't. It's cool to believe in it, and
I wish I could agree.
I held on to my beliefs because I wanted there to be an afterlife. But trust me, if you think about it for 2.5 years, there's zero comfort in living forever. Even during an orgasm, or forever, or just being able to do whatever the fuck you want. It would be the worst thing ever a all-knowing, all-powerful being could do to anything living and conscious, is to make it never fucking die.
Funny you should say that. Funny you should say that, because I don't want there to be an afterlife, yet I still believe.
Well, I don't want there to be a Yeti, and guess what? There's not. And I can say that honestly, intellectually honestly, to my children, just like I can say there's no leprechauns. I haven't looked under every rock. I haven't been to every star system in the universe. I can say there's no leprechauns because of the claims of a leprechaun. It's in Ireland. It's a little green guy, end of the rainbow, gold. They disprove that specific claim of leprechauns. Leprechauns don't exist. There is no afterlife.
Well, hey, Kwai, is that how you pronounce your name?
Michael? Or Kauai time?
Kwai time?
Yeah, it's an island in Hawaii. Kauai.
So, what is your position exactly? Are you what they call a strong atheist, if you will, where you?
I am a supernatural skeptic, and a skeptic, even skeptical of skepticism first. I am an atheist, as in I don't believe in gods. I am an anti-theist because I actively believe there are no theistic personal gods, and can defend that better than I can defend a god.
Okay, well, guys, here's where I think there's a problem with that. Okay, and let me tell you what my position is, of course, first.
Cool.
I'm an agnostic atheist. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
I believe that there's no way to know if there is a God or if there isn't a God. I mean, that type of knowledge is simply something that, we can't fathom. We can't know everything. There is no, how do I say it? It's an impossibility,
Can't prove a negative.
But you can also not disprove nor prove everything that doesn't exist. True, it is impossible to know if there is a God or set of gods, but theistic, as in personal loving, promises you stuff, threatens you stuff, and answers prayers, you can intellectually, honestly say there is no evidence of that. And by definition, a deity that is theistic would show evidence, because he interacts with this universe, and anything that interacts with this universe, even if it's hard to spot, like dark matter, interacts with the universe and can be detected, even if it's indirectly.
Yeah.
It is impossible to know if there's a God. But who gives a shit if it's not theistic? If it's deistic, We can never know about it. It's not threatening us, and it's not promising us anything, so who gives a shit? Honestly. But theistic gods, you can, as an honest, intellectual, being 100% genuine, you can say there is no such thing as theistic gods. Because if there was, there'd be evidence of it. And all the man-made gods are man-made.
Yeah.
Well, an example of how belief in gods kind of was supported. Back when the History Channel actually had real information on it, they had this documentary about this archaeologist slash paleontologist who visited a restoration of a temple in Greece, and she saw in the reliquary what back then they thought was the leg bone of a titan. She saw it and realized that's a woolly mammoth's leg. It was like a Rorschach test. Whenever they found fossils, they incorporated it into their mythology and say, "Look, we have proof. Our gods are real. This is the body of one." That's how they got dragons. That's how they got griffins. They just incorporated
bones, dinosaur bones.
Yeah. They took real information and they just screwed it up and just rolled with the theistic explanation for it.
See, the thing is as a empathetic, logical, semi-intelligent creature, as a human being, if you think about it and truly think about it in the perspective of a god, you realize that every single thing you could possibly do to help humans would only backfire, like a Bible or a prophet or whatever. It can only backfire. It can only be used for good. So if there was a theistic God, I think logically it would come out to understand that the best thing for these creatures in this universe, I guess you create, would be to leave them alone and let them just be dead, and to not help them or promise them anything, because it would only be used for evil. Honestly.
Let evolution take its hand, take control.
Yeah. But then you run into the issue of, if God is all-loving and all-powerful, he would then be forced by those two attributes to help sick and dying babies being raped to death. And so you would be forced. You would have to. It would be impossible for a God to lovingly leave us alone or lovingly help us in any way, because it's so fucking complicated unless you are completely impartial to your creation, which makes you not theistic. So the universe is here. If it wasn't here, we wouldn't be here to think about it. How did it get here? I don't know. No one smart does. What happened before the Big Bang? Stupid question. What's south of the South Pole? There is no direction but north. There is no before time. Nothing can exist without time, because time is change. So nothing existed outside of the universe before the universe. Nothing could exist, especially a disembodied mind. And the universe will end. And it will. It was born, it will die. How it will die, we don't know. But we know so much, down to like a couple Planck instances, or Planck seconds, or whatever the fuck they're called, -42 power in 1. After like 2 or 3 of those, we can explain almost everything with the Standard Model, which has now been completely confirmed. And we can understand everything once you have one bacteria and a planet with billions of years and lots of catastrophes. You can explain how that one piece of bacteria can become everything living here. How did that first bacteria? I don't know. Doesn't matter. But those questions no longer need a deity. They just don't. It's best as human beings to stop making up answers, letting "I don't know" be the best answer in the entire world, and just coping with this is your life, this is all you get. You're really fucking lucky to get this. Really, really lucky to be able to live, especially if you're a white male in America in 2014, because it's so easy to live now, and you're going to die. If you want to live, help science, extend the human lifespan. I guarantee you, if everyone could live forever, no one would live forever, because no one wants to live that long. Maybe thousands of years, maybe millions of years, maybe. Everyone would choose to die. They would, because the human brain gets bored. The human brain wants and needs things, and older humans, older people, are okay with death. They seem to be okay with it, for the most part. And it's because it is torture to never, ever be able to just let it end. And I'm personally glad that eventually I'm going to be dead and just be dead.
So
that's comforting.
I wish I could say that.
Yeah, Thaddeus, yeah, because I don't want to. One of the things that I try and do on my Hangouts, now that I'm going to start doing them more often, is I kind of want to, offer everybody a fair amount of time to speak. You know what I mean? Even if they're even if there's different positions involved here. So, Thaddeus, do you have anything to say to what Quatan just talked about?
Well, I guess I agree. I mean, there hasn't been. Well, I do agree that my, I guess the religion that I was raised in, I believe it's been doing some pretty, I don't know, pretty stupid things lately, and I'm not exactly okay with it.
Which religion is that?
Everyone... Sorry, what?
Which religion or which sect of Christianity?
Pentecostal.
Oh.
Yeah.
Speaking in tongues and stuff like that.
Yeah, except I don't experience anything supernatural, which is probably why I'm a bit more of a skeptic.
Yeah, after that message.
Personally, I haven't had an experience.
Were you a teenager in the Pentecostal church?
I'm a teenager right now.
Yeah.
Pretty much an adult. Only one more year.
Do you have other teenage friends in that church?
No, a lot of my friends in that are actually secular. They don't believe in anything, they're just normal people.
I think it might have something to do with peer pressure. There's a lot of peer pressure to be just as righteous and just as active in your faith by your peers, that I think if you had more friends, you would be influenced maybe into doing that. I wasn't a teenager when I went to, so I never talked in tongues, because I think it's a peer pressure thing. That's just my personal opinion. But please continue.
No, it's okay. I was just gonna say that I guess I'm at a point in my life where it's almost a crossroads. I do still believe, but I am open to the opinion that I could be wrong, because I have listened to atheist arguments and that before, and for the most part, they do make sense.
And as before I continue, Vladimir Putin, did you have anything to say about anything that was discussed? Because I know you haven't talked any yet. I must have some difficulties, I guess. But from what I've been talking about, as far as my position is concerned, like I was saying, as far as being an agnostic atheist is concerned, I'm agnostic because I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know what's out there, and I admit that we know a vast amount of information, but when it comes to the universe, there's information that we will never know in our lifetime, and 1,000 lifetimes after that. You know what I mean? Because it's so vast. And because of that, I don't know if there's a God or not. I don't know if there's any other type of, what do you call it? Living beings, if you will, if you want to put it that way. You know, so because of the fact, you know, that there's no knowledge to know these things, and also because of the fact that there's no evidence to back any of these claims up, I lack the belief in it. You know what I mean? And that's why, you know, I refer to myself as an agnostic atheist. You know, I realize that there are a plethora of atheists that are going to think differently from me and probably disagree with me, and that's fine, you know. I'm completely open to that, you know. And I just wanted to share my position with everybody.
Yeah, agnosticism.
It's like, I'm sorry.
I'm proud of you for admitting that you're agnostic, because most people are.
With me, it's like I'm more of an anti-theist, because if there's a God in this universe, I sincerely hope it's not like a theistic God. Because any God who supposedly is loving and lets things go on like they are is God who only has one free hand and he's into snuff films. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Either he's unwilling or he's unable to help. Or the most likely answer is that description of being present.
So, Ken Lee, are you there?
I am here.
Yeah. Do you have anything to say about what we've talked about so far?
Here, let's see if my camera still works. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, I see.
This is my camera security device.
Nice.
Chip clip. Ever since one of the theists tried to activate other people's cameras, that's been my security device.
Yeah, my friend that usually does these hangouts says that that can happen, and ever since that, he's put tape over his camera.
Yeah, I found the chip clip to be much less intrusive, and it doesn't leave goo on the lens.
Yeah, I'm a
exactly.
hobbyist hacker, and I can tell you, yes, they can listen to your microphones, and yes, they can watch your videos. But if they want to, they're going to do it no matter what. No matter what, people can get in if they want to. I take all the tape off, turn all the GPSs on. Go ahead. I'm not that interesting.
Yeah, really. But yeah, as far as the subject, yeah, I was raised by a lady who couldn't lie to save her life. So when she tried to tell me about Santa Claus, she failed. And we just both wound up laughing, and she expressed that she was rather relieved because she wouldn't have to even lie to me for the next 4, 5, 6 years. And like a few days later, the Jehovah's Witnesses came to the door, and their story was even more laughable than the one I had just heard. And I was just a little 3.5 or so year old, and I just compared the two stories to them, and they eventually suddenly had to leave for some unknown reason and just walked off. And it's been that way when religious people encounter me ever since.
What killed religion for me is history books.
Yeah.
I'm not saying religious people are responsible for what happened in the past, but they owe their position because of what happened in the past. I don't feel comfortable. I never felt comfortable with cozying up with that. It's just I couldn't defend it.
Yeah.
My my oldest son, at 7 years old, asked me, how do we know God is real, and how do we know the Bible's from God? So I said what I always say to him when I didn't know. I don't know, let's find out. And then came back to him 2 months later and said, we don't, we can't, and I don't believe. And he swore at me and said I didn't have to confirm it and walked away. So I think he figured it out at 7. Because I didn't raise him Jehovah's Witness. I was a believer in a higher power, and believed all religions were wrong and that human beings can never speak for God, and just left my kids alone. And my oldest naturally became a skeptic. And it was because I didn't have him do Christmas. I mean, we did Christmas. I just told him presents from Daddy, but we call it Santa Claus because it's funny. And the kid figured it out, and it's because you don't have to be smart. You don't have to know science to be an atheist. You just have to be brave and intellectually honest and understand logic. And that's...
Yeah, I didn't know science at 3, that's for sure. And it was obvious.
PhDs required.
Yeah, with me, you know, I don't know. I'm probably wouldn't consider myself to be an anti-theist. You know, I'm not. You know.
Well, how do you define anti-theism?
Well, to me personally, I think, you know, I could get it wrong. I haven't really looked into it that much. I want to be honest, first and foremost. As far as an anti-theist is concerned, to me, I think that it's an individual who is actively and aggressively opposing religion for the complete eradication of religion.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think
that's one definition. The other is that you actively believe that there is no theistic.
Yeah. Well, see, that was what I was going to bring up. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Dawkins scale, are you?
Yes, I accept the atheist experience Matt Dillahunty definitions as the best.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see what you mean. But yeah, the Dawkins scale from 1 to 7, I guess he had 7 stages, if you will, from 1 being, you know, a strong theist to 7 being a strong atheist, you know, which is an active belief that there is no God, absolutely no God, whatever, you know. But I see where you're coming from with Matt Dillahunty's, you know.
He did a lot of thinking about it, and I really like his definition, where theistic is personal, loving God, deistic is impartial, you have pantheist, which is everything is God. You have atheist, which only means you don't believe in gods. And then anti-theist, which you actively believe there isn't theistic gods, or you're actively against religion. And that agnosticism and Gnosticism only has to do with the knowledge claim, just so that there's some kind of consistency. But I was really anti-religion. I've been an atheist for a little under 3 years. For the first year and a half, tell you what, I don't know if everyone's the same, but I don't give a shit anyone. I really don't. You're not going to change anyone. You're not going to destroy any religions. They're going to do it all themselves. And people are fucking cowards. They're cowards. Most people refuse to think or get offended almost immediately because it's threatening their fantasy of, I don't want to be dead and just be dead.
Yeah. Well, see, I'm you know, I myself would probably be totally against the idea of a total eradication of religion, because I think that it wouldn't solve anything. And for, you know, one, you know, even if something was totally eradicated from society, there would almost always be another belief or another situation to take its place. You know what I mean? What do you think?
I think persecution of any religion will only give it more
martyrs.
That whole any publicity is good publicity shit. They're gonna kill themselves with a educated, scientifically literate community with access to knowledge. It's inevitable that stupid fairy tales will be thrown away if people care what is true or not.
A fine example of how Christians shoot themselves in the foot is a Christian hillbilly. You ever hear him on Nadia's channel? Every time he gets on, he inevitably, whatever the subject is, he goes straight to frothing at the mouth about the LGBT community. He makes an ass out of himself on an epic scale. And I just told him one time, you are the best recruiter for atheists ever. You drive more people to atheism than I ever could in my whole life. It's just a tragedy that your gibberish makes some people kill themselves because of this religious persecution of the LGBT community.
Yeah, well, that's the community that atheists should be focused on if they want to be active in any way, because the least trusted, least liked minority in America is atheists, and then above them is homosexuals. Above them is Muslims. So we need to help. We need to help number two, so that number one has to be addressed. So we'll be the elephant in the room. Plus, the only good thing that you can actually do as an individual, I believe, is help with equality, all equality, just period. And there is no way that you can do bad by being more equality. Even if it's, oh, pedophiles, well, let's give them therapy. Let's discuss it. Let's research this. Let's test things, virtual reality, robots, anything to have a healthy way of expressing that instead of just demonizing them. Or if people want to be a radical Islam, that's fine, but they shouldn't be allowed to raise their children in that kind of environment. I believe it should be illegal to raise children in a fundamentalist upbringing, because it's child abuse. It just is. It should be classified like cigarettes, tobacco, and porn. It should be an adult-only thing, because people faith heal their children, because people raise their kids. I was a good kid, man. I'm a mama's boy. My mother told me things were true without giving a shit or not if they really were, and that actually knowing how to tell the truth or not. And I trusted her because I loved her, and why would she tell me something that's wrong? And I literally was freshly thrown to the world at like 16 with no knowledge, no education, no ability to just act myself, and I didn't know who I was. And when I look back on it, I realized it was child abuse. I was told that Jesus was persecuted, and the more I was persecuted, the closer I was to Christ, and that it was okay if people didn't like me, because that meant I was going to be like Christ, and that it was all right because this is all just a test, and don't store your treasures here, store them in heaven. No savings ability, no economic structure, no anything. And then I was kicked out, and excommunication, when you're in a cult, and my definition of a cult is you're actively kept from associating with anyone that's not in that group. Once you're thrown out of the cult, you don't know shit. I got burned with cigarettes. I fucked everything that I could. I took every drug I could, drank everything I could, watched everything I could, did everything possible because I wasn't allowed to do shit, and really fucked up my life and my health in that first 10 years, and will pay for it for the rest of my life. And honestly don't think I started making healthy, honest decisions about my life until I threw away supernatural bullshit, all of it.
I've seen that wild explosion so many times that I've seen that one extreme to the other. So that thing happens so many times. Once you get out of a highly repressive situation, it's just leap to whatever they were repressing you from doing and just do it to excess until you learn that that's dumb too, or you die.
Like Axl Rose, he says his upbringing was his grandmother would lock him in the attic and play Jerry Falwell singing. Which televangelist would like to do all the singing?
Most of them.
Yeah, but they blast that televangelist shit loud as possible, and when he finally went out into the world.
White hair tower.
I think most of those people are atheists, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there, Quiet Time, because I think a lot of these people, you know, like the Peter Popoffs or the Joel Osteens or all of the, even the Creflo Dollar I've been hearing about lately. You know, all these guys, I think that they're really atheists. They just want to scam people out of money.
Yeah.
You know?
I think they're more sociopathic.
I just want to pay for 2 people to get their jet certifications so we can steal both his jets.
Yeah. Yeah, and then what I was, you know, quiet time when you were talking about your upbringing earlier, you know, if I didn't know any better, I would have mistaken you for being a Scientologist, because that's exactly what they do too.
Oh, but Scientology is just crazy. Talking donkeys and, you know, worldwide floods with 70-foot by 40-foot by, what is it, 340-foot boats.
One window.
Totally.
That's more logical, yeah. You ever hear Nephilim Freeze talk about the flood?
Yes.
That is breathtakingly stupid.
Whales
He
on the
said that the water shot out from the wells of the deep at supersonic speed. When anything goes at a supersonic speed, it gets hot because of air friction. So
water.
For that to have happened, it wouldn't have been what? It would have been a jet of steam. So we're supposed to believe that a boat floated on a jet of steam.
Well, he also believes the Earth is flat and that the universe revolves around the Earth. So.
Have you seen the numbers for if all the water fell, it would have gotten hot enough to melt lead because of just the energy of the water hitting the surface of the rest of the water. That kinetic energy to stack up enough water above Everest would have created 800-degree plus all by itself.
It depends upon how fast it is and how much mass it has and a bunch of other factors. Honestly, they think that the firmament was real, that there was oceans above and oceans below. Because, you know, sky's blue, ocean's blue, duh. The thing is
scattering.
The thing is with that much water on the surface of the Earth, there would be no way that anything could be alive. Saltwater fish would die, freshwater fish would die, and not a single plant or seed was mentioned once. And people back then didn't know, but people now know. Roots in plants breathe oxygen. So, yeah, everything would be dead. Everything would be dead. And it's just...
Wildwood Claire said it best, is that there's like reefs that are 25,000 years old. So if the world's only 6,000 years old, how? There's trees 9,000 years old.
Yeah. Satan. Is Satan trying to confuse you?
And to say that the world was underwater 4,600 years ago, how in the mighty name of fuck is the Egyptian culture 5,000 years old?
Well, you know.
20,000 years old, actually. Go up the White Nile.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, carbon dating is inaccurate. That's why we have like 17 different ways of doing radiometric dating. So that
you don't even need carbon dating. You can use their calendar and the list of the pharaohs from beginning to end. And you have corroborating evidence from natural disasters that was put down in their records. And you know, like Santorini volcano, they know exactly when that erupted.
Krakatoa.
Have a record of it, and then you can use a calendar to count back to the first pharaoh. You don't even need any questionable testing. You just need math.
Well, fortunately, all the claims of geology and all the claims of evolution and all the claims of Homo sapiens' actual existence was completely, totally confirmed by DNA evidence. All of it. Like, before that, it was still, evolution was a fact. Now evolution is a super duper fact.
Yeah. And just like some Christians out there, even the young earth creationists have a terrible habit of thinking that the geological column is some type of conspiracy to conceal the real truth about there being a creator.
Well, that's what happens when you don't have any evidence and any facts in your corner. You have to victimize yourself and make up enemies because you have to have some kind of thing that you're winning against, and the best way to win when you ain't got shit is to make up an enemy.
Yeah.
It's like the slowest kid in tag. The only defense they have is, you didn't tag me. You didn't tag me. You could tag Nephilim Bree right across the face. Leave a palm print, and the only thing he'd do is cry, try to rub the pain away and say, you didn't tag me. I seen him talk to PhD holders, people who have doctorates, and say, you just don't understand science. You stupid bastard. It's the power of denial.
Yeah.
Science is the one gift that humanity has given itself, which has the ability to overcome every fucking obstacle, because all of the obstacles we put there ourselves. We're biased human beings that want answers even if they're not right, because we just want to have answers. So science doesn't give a shit what you believe. And science is not a belief system. Science is a mechanism of self-error correcting for biases, and it requires no faith because by definition it's empirically verifiable, and it's beautiful. And without science, we'd be deists at best, like the founding fathers. But we can actually be intellectually honest and be like, there is no evidence of gods. There's no reason to believe in anything without evidence. If you have repeatable evidence, I'll change my mind. If not, not worth our time. Let's worry about something important.
Yeah, at one time it was like they said that there's all swans are white, only lizards lay eggs, and only mammals suckle their young. And then Australia was discovered, where they have black swans and the platypus.
Australia is a conspiracy by Satan to make you not believe in blood.
And science just would, oh fuck, okay, we're wrong. Let's find out how we were wrong. Science is always willing to admit they're wrong, and they get off on it when scientists can disprove a theory.
It's more exciting.
It's like a pool. It's like swimming with sharks. They will scrutinize every last freaking thing they possibly can because it would make their career. It's that intellectual bloodthirstiness, which is putting us farther and farther ahead in science.
A lot of scientists do science because they're motivated to discover things that have not been discovered yet, and get disappointed when they do find, like, the Higgs boson, or they do confirm that chimpanzees and human beings are the closest genetically, because then they can't look no more. And all they got left is other things like, why are Portuguese man-of-war seem like a single organism, but also are individual organisms, but also kind of work together as a team. Like, those kind of things are harder to do than a single test or a single experiment. And most scientists actually are disappointed when they find out conclusively one way or another, because that's it. It's like the end of a book, and you still have characters that haven't had their stories finished, and you're like, but the book's over, and it's just sad. Like, people are like, oh, well, scientists, they put together different apes and different human bone fragments in 1924 and made up the false link, between humans and apes. And it's like, yeah, but do you realize who called bullshit and figured out it was bullshit? Science. The self-error correcting mechanism of peer review, which does itself naturally. Peer review isn't something you have to it isn't something you have to make happen. It isn't something you have to schedule. By science's own scientific method itself, peer review just comes out. And peer review is fucking awesome because I know enough to know. You can
this goes to a much deeper part of their stupid argument, where they argue that you as an individual cannot hold a certainty about an idea. That any one individual, you know, they can force them to say, well, I don't know. And they completely disregard the printed, tested, retested theories and laws that, you know, I live 1 mile from one end of the speed of light experiment. The other end was on Mount Wilson. I could go put up the mirror rack again and go over to Mount Wilson and shoot a laser at it and determine the speed of light again. And they completely ignore the history of total documentation. And that's why they're trying to destroy the history books. They won't talk about it, but they'll try to destroy it in all text forms. And they'll DMCA science programs for the same reason. And that's one of their prime things, is to craft a narrative that does not include the physical, written, testable, printable, retestable history of science, and simply try and pretend that you only hold it in your mind, that each individual is responsible for pretending that all these things are facts. And all they have to do is provide you with this little niggle of a doubt, and your whole imagination will collapse. And it's insidious, you know. All of their arguments are. They're insidious, backwards, illogical, you know, but crafted illogic.
Yeah, and most of them have been already successfully defeated in arguments for
Over and over again.
Thousands of years. The word atheist comes from in the Greek times, before the Bible was even written. There was theists and atheists, and there was words for things that we just now are coming to grasp with, like atoms and stuff. And it was because these people were allowed to make fun of the local gods and to deny the local gods without being burned to death.
The first atheist happened the moment right after the first theist said, "This rock is God." And the first atheist was created. The person standing next to him that went, "You're insane!" And it was co-creation. And
I think it was done in good, for good reasons to begin with. Somebody's grandma died. Someone said, "Don't worry, she's going to a better place." The thing is smart people who either don't believe or just love themselves too much to even consider any other belief system immediately see, oh, power, control. What's the best way to do whatever you want? You have a bunch of people follow you who believe that you are in direct communication with God. You can do whatever the fuck you want.
I've also totally do with the idea that the first religious impulse happened when somebody was going through a primeval forest, and they came face to face with a big, fucking scary-ass animal. Dropped to his knees, crapped his pants, and said, "Please don't eat me!" And the animal was either already faded and not hungry, or was scared away by the smell. And he goes, "Oh wait, that animal responded to this. It must want me to be its messenger." That's what.
Yeah,
They went back and said, "Look, all you have to do is say, please."
Human beings tend to remember the hits and always forget the misses. Like if I said, you know, God doesn't exist, and someone's like, "Ooh, you shouldn't do that before you get on an airplane." Be like, God doesn't exist, the plane's going to fall either way. And then the plane falls, up, proof of God. The plane didn't fall, it doesn't mean anything.
So, what pisses me off is these stories that you hear where a Bible was found in a fire. It's proof of God. The Bible survived. 4 people died!
But the water heater survived.
I can give a shit about the Bible. 4 people died. Protecting the Bible and letting people die?
Yeah.
Those people are the people that never read the Bible. Have any of you read the Bible in its entirety?
From front to back, no. I read a lot of it though.
Yeah. I've went through the Bible 3 times, I think, completely while being a Jehovah's Witness, and then almost a 4th time as Christian, and then I couldn't even get through to Deuteronomy as an atheist. It's fucking bad. It's bad. Like, if I was weak and scared and I wanted to come up with something to hold on to in afterlife, I would totally go with the deceiver is Yahweh and Satan is God and God is Satan, because that deity, the Abrahamic God, Allah, Jehovah, Yahweh, that's just a piece of shit. Dude, we'd fucked if he exists. Totally fucked. Even if he had a son, Jesus, that's kind of fun way.
How did you react to those passages when you were Christian?
Oh, cognitive dissonance.
Oh, okay.
I would either God goggles gloss over, or I would accept the answers given to me as a child that I can't question God. Most of the time, I don't even remember them. I didn't even know that they were there. I read them, they weren't there. Because my brain protected my belief system. Now that I don't have any belief systems based upon things without evidence, I see things for how they are, and it's very hard to get one over on me, just because bullshit smells really bad. And did you ever
see that bit of Richard Dawkins being surprised at Americans being angry when they found out religion was bullshit?
I was angry at God for not existing, so I totally understand.
He was completely surprised that it would cause anger because he never experienced the complete domination of, like, entire little towns of people that all believe one thing, and for a kid to have questioned something and gotten in tremendous trouble for it and then repressed themselves the rest of their lives. He'd just never seen it. It was just stunning how the American experience is so unique in that way, that you can just have a whole group of people in an area that all just, if you question their beliefs, you'd better shut up, leave, or
you're excommunicated.
toe the line. Yeah.
It's a cultural absolute. Water is wet, fire is hot, God exists.
Right,
God exists because
it exists because everyone says it exists.
Right.
That's circular reasoning.
And
the symbol shouldn't be the cross, and it should be the circle.
I say God doesn't exist because there's no evidence of a God, and you don't believe in 99% of the things out there without evidence. So there's really no reason to believe in anything without evidence. If you're wrong, okay, when there's evidence, you can change your mind. And 99% of it, I would risk my life, every dollar I ever made, everything except my kids' lives, because that's not mine to risk, that there is no deities that are personal and theistic. There's no afterlife, good or bad, and that we are animals that exist on this planet because we were made on this planet by death and time, and death and time, and death and time. And we are going to die and be dead, like all religious people believe that all the animals are going to be dead. And that in itself is a blessing, and in itself is beautiful, and is not scary once you've had time to let your brain cope.
Yeah.
Every religious person, when they get out, is going to be terrified of not existing. And anybody who spends a few years thinking about it and inquiring about it will realize that you don't want to live forever, and that it is much better this way. And it sucks, and it's scary, and it's the universe don't give a fucking shit about you, and everything that has meaning, everything that has purpose, everything that matters only matters in a human-centric world because we say so. What is the purpose of a tree getting chopped down? Well, so we can have a house or a book. What's the purpose of chickens? So we can eat them. We make up all of these purposes. Everyone's cool with that. And then they're like, well, what's the purpose of life? And they want to say it's somewhere outside of us. It's like, no, wait. You said purpose. All human beings make purpose a thing because purpose means to us. We make our own purpose in life. It can be whatever you want. But there is no outside purposes for anything. And the whole, our super cluster of galaxies could just disappear. And the universe wouldn't give a shit. Let alone our little tiny planet, let alone one particular religion, let alone one fucking animal that is obviously an animal that has animalistic tendencies. It's so much more calming, so much more influential to just let go of all bullshit. Just let it go and learn what it is to be a skeptic. Learn logic. Learn critical thinking skills. Learn, most importantly, debate and what a fallacy is. Believe whatever the fuck you want, but learn that shit because it's really easy to see the logic in skepticism, and you will no longer be duped. You can no longer watch politics or anything else with bullshit because you get allergic to bullshit. Just like if you were a whiner and you had a girlfriend get you to stop fucking whining, you're then allergic to whining. You're allergic to it. You realize money, religion, and sex are the three things people say you can't talk about in America. It's because all three are bullshit. All three are bullshit. Oh no, money, sex, no, religion, money, and politics you can't talk about. And it's because religion is faith-based. Politics is faith-based. Money is faith-based. Currency. Right. And if you talk about it, people will realize it's faith-based. And if they are skeptical, will be like, oh, faith-based anything is just stupid. And it will all fall apart. It will all fall apart because every major type of control on this planet is faith-based. And by faith, I'm taking the Hebrews 11:1 definition of belief in the things unseen and the hopes and desires that your dreams will come true. Wishful thinking and belief without evidence, which also has another definition called gullibility. And you can be gullible if you want, but it really, 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 really is a lot better for this planet if at least 51% of the people were skeptical about everything. Skeptically interrogate the universe around you so that you're not duped. So you don't fall for shit. So you don't watch a single YouTube video and be like, we didn't land on the moon. And I'm saying that just because it was a video and because the guy seemed like he knew what he was talking about, instead of thinking like a scientist and being like, what are the sources? How can you test if we went to the moon? How can you test if we didn't go to the moon? How do we know we went to the moon? What is triangulation of a radio signal? How can they tell? What were the people doing? What was the main hobby they had? Oh, people were radio enthusiasts back then, before the internet, before fax machines. Oh, wow, they could actually triangulate a signal and tell you where it's coming from? Okay, this, that, this, that, this, that. Oh, and this person who made this documentary has no credibility, no papers or any kind of doctorate in any sense whatsoever, but can make really cool videos. And you'd be like, ah, bullshit. And if it's not bullshit, somebody will come up with something that's repeatable, empirical, and then I'll believe that the moon landing was faked. But I can go out right now with scientific information, get a laser, find out how big the laser has to be, point it at a specific spot, and bounce it off of a mirror and be able to tell how far away the moon is myself.
Oh, yeah.
They put that reflectors on the moon when they went there.
Yeah, they had to, because it would not have been able to survive with the technology we had at the time to be placed there by a robot or landed there because of
Can you
Yeah,
imagine how many people waste their lives waiting for God to do something?
I did.
It's
Oh, and you totally get a victim
tragic.
mentality. Dude, I had tinfoil hat, Alex Jones listening, Nibiru's coming, everything's fake, government did everything all the time. All like they're so fucking powerful, blah blah blah. And I'd turn off my GPS, cover my front facing camera, all that shit. And then as the process of becoming a real, full, skeptical human being happened, I decide that comfort and convenience and awesomeness beats being afraid of something that's not happening. People are like, oh, they. I'm like, who's they? And they're like, the government. When was the last time the government ever did anything to you? I don't know. When was the last time you had help from the government? Food stamps, Medicaid, ambulance, police, roads, anything. Every day. They are coming after you. They are evil. They are going to watch you. Like, who are these they people? Like, they're not. Like, okay, there is an organization in the government that monitors every communication we have. But they can't because they're fucking humans. So they make software. And the software itself can only look at a little piece of it. It's not that dangerous. There is better chance that somebody like me will break into your Wi-Fi for fun and then walk away than there is that the government's going to actually pay attention to what the fuck you say. And you can prove this. I can get on the phone, be like, CIA bomb, terrorist, nuclear explosion, anthrax, and just on and on and on and on. They'll never knock on my door. They won't. They just won't, because there's no money in going after me. There's no political gain, because I don't live in a country that has $1 billion worth of lithium or what to come after me. It's all money. It's all money, and there are people that are hoarders. There are people that have to have everything. And these people are in control of the exit and entrance nodes, and they're harvesting all of this data. And guess what? As a computer person, I know it's all useless, and it's all just a big waste of money, because you can't figure out anything with that information. And it's all big data, and people are afraid of big data. If you understand big data, there is no privacy intrusion in big data. Big data can only help. If they anonymously released all of our medical information to big data anonymously, it would help tremendously with disease fighting, information, understanding, all of that, without ever violating your personal privacy. Big data is as private as encryption, is as private as you can possibly be on this planet, because it's everybody, and it's not scary. They're gonna come get your guns. They got motherfucking drones and atomic bombs. They don't give a shit about your guns. If they want to come take your guns, you're gonna give them up, and they're gonna take them like they did when Katrina hit. You're gonna give them up. Everyone else did. They're gonna come put you in a concentration camp. Why would they put people who pay taxes and build their roads and make their McDonald's cheeseburger? Why would they put them away?
Profit to a certain percentage.
Hmm?
You get profit from that to a certain percentage, which also makes you valuable as a prisoner. But yeah, mostly there's just too much data to handle, and the NSA's brain keeps lighting on fire. I heard it like burnt halfway down 6 months ago again.
You think a human being who will work their entire life, pay taxes, and just try to be happy, don't you think that's more valuable to somebody who's in the top 1% than somebody who is useful to work themselves to death or use their body, skin and shit for materials? There's no more
I think you're valuable as an imprisoned slave for khaki or a whacking hut. You're more directly valuable to them that way because they get paid for having you in their box, and they can make you work, and they can make profit off of your work and the products you produce. So yeah, it's not as cut and dried as you might think. You're a valuable asset for them to just plug into their boxes. So yeah, but yeah, mostly most of what everybody says and types is just way too much volume for them to keep up with. And like I said, the NSA's new gather all information center just keeps lighting itself on fire. So yeah, their efforts
Really
aren't
busy
really
killing ground people right
it
now.
would
So
seem.
there's lots of money in making bombs, blowing shit up, and rebuilding. Lots of money in that. And and the whole world just turned their back on the Middle East when we decided to illegally go there without the UN's permission and do whatever the fuck we want for false pretenses, for oil, for lithium, and mostly for the ability to blow shit up and rebuild it. So we're just going to keep
The best product in the world is one that explodes. It's designed to explode. If it explodes, it's done its job. Your customer is happy and they buy more. You don't have to repair anything.
Look at the corporate welfare for the for war industry. The armed forces have gone to Congress and said, "Stop giving us tanks." The army has said, "Please stop doing it. We don't have the men for the tanks. Why are you giving us tanks?" And the corporate stooges in Congress just said, "Okay, 5,000 more tanks and X amount extra planes. Why are you giving us planes? We don't have the pilots for them."
Well, I have to be honest. Quiet time. I can actually sit here and listen to you all fucking night, buddy.
I've had 3 years to think about this shit, and I have been studying every religion as Jehovah's Witnesses mandate, and then actively looking for the right religion, actively giving a shit if it's true or not, converting to Islam, because Islam is dangerously easy, and also very, very, very small leap if you're already Old Testament Jehovah's Witnesses, because you're like, oh, this is that same piece of shit. The God of Abraham, the God of Moses, the God of Isaac, the jealous, hateful, homophobic, sexist person, this same character. Dude, I converted to Islam within 2 days, because it takes about a day to read the Quran. And
The Archibunker of God.
More like the Mao Hitler ate a lot of mercury God.
Worked in a hat factory in the 1800s.
It's like the Old Testament God is a 12-year-old boy who's in the closet who thinks menstrual blood is icky. And self-hating in the closet. But I actually know where the Bible came from. And the first 5 books of the Bible, most intellectually honest scholars show that it's 5 different types of grammar, 5 different types of writing, written by 5 different people. Missing things like Genesis 2, which is the book of Lilith, where God fucked up like 3 times making humans. And those first 5 books of the Bible were written, rewritten, and rewritten 5 separate times. And you can tell what time period you can infer this information because of the grammar style and the wording and stuff like that. Just like you could infer from what century a paper was written because of the English, and like fluctuations in it and stuff like that. You can infer a lot, and we definitely know that Moses didn't write that, and I put Moses and Jesus and Abraham and all of those other people in the same place I've always put Thor and Zeus, and well, more like Hercules and stuff, where they are maybe there was somebody named Hercules, maybe he did a couple cool things, but in the long run it's just legend. I don't believe in a historical Jesus. I don't believe in a historical Moses. I don't believe in any human being's ability to accurately have any kind of information pass from one generation to another without it being completely completely misrepresented. I can't even tell you something my mother told me yesterday correctly. They're all legends. They're not worth our time. And if these people did exist, awesome. They're pieces of shit, liars and warmongers who are all fucking nuts by today's standard and hear voices. Or maybe people just made this shit the fuck up.
You talk about Moses. There's more.
Sorry, have you studied or heard of Dr. Joseph Ben Yohanan?
No.
He's the greatest Egyptologist I could recommend. He takes people on tours, and there are 3 and 4 hour long videos of tours of the entire Nile Valley, and he goes up the White Nile, and it shows the earliest pyramids. It's an exposition of 20,000 years of history, from which the root Bible stories came. And then some of the embellishments are more
recycled Egyptian, recycled Babylonian, and also
way pre-Greek. It predates Greece by 5,000 years.
Yeah, they're all the same stories. Epic of Gilgamesh, Noah's flood, the creation story, the Babylonian creation story, the Egyptian creation story. They're all the same thing. And the thing is, because that area was moving around and trading a lot more than people want to admit, that's why rosary beads come from Hinduism, and that's why a lot of Jesus's nonsense seems very Buddhist, Hinduist.
Yeah.
They all mixed them all up, and it's the same shit. It's the same story. It's just it went from polytheistic to monotheistic after a king lost Jerusalem and was like, oh, well, we got to quit worshiping all 3 of these gods. Let's just keep the war god Jehovah, Yahweh. Let's just keep him. And that's why the whole Bible is like, throw away your idols. You can't have idols. You can't have idols. Because they all had fucking idols. Because they worship 3 gods. They worship the Trinity. The Trinity is recycled too. It's all recycled. It's recycled. And it's more of a way of incorporating trade routes originally, because you can't trade with people who believe in the Epic of Gilgamesh when you're laughing at them. So you make your own story, just like the Christians took Easter and Saturnalia and Halloween and all these other things and turned them into Christian ideas when they weren't. There's no such thing as a Christian holiday, actually. No,
I agree there. I agree 100%. And one of the things that I like to point out a lot of the times is that's when they come up with this whole Jesus or God concept, if you will, the Christians. And if you pay attention, there's a lot of number of similarities between Horus, for example, and Jesus. Horus was born on the 25th of December. He walked on water. He was
Lazarus from the dead.
He was born of a virgin birth. He died and came back to life. It's the exact identical bullshit.
There's 17 other Christ-like characters through the Middle East.
Yeah, all based on that story, yeah.
But what I was talking about before was, in America, we have evidence that the Vikings were here before anyone else. It's been bits and pieces were scattered all across the eastern seaboard.
Yeah, Harold was here.
In the Middle East, we have absolutely no evidence of the Exodus.
Because
Vikings can leave evidence.
Million people walking around for 40 years, they're not going to put garbage on the ground. No.
Right, and they're somehow going to feed themselves and have bulls to sacrifice and gold to make idols out of in the desert. Oh, yeah.
If a handful of Vikings can leave solid evidence,
come across.
A million people can't.
Good people do good things. Bad people do bad things. To get a good person to do a bad thing without thinking or questioning requires, first of all, faith, and second of all, a victim complex. That's why the Egyptians had to have enslaved the Jews so that they could justify killing every living thing that breathed. because they
They
were.
didn't enslave Jews, they enslaved each other, and that is where circumcision came from. It's a mark of being a slave to the Pharaoh.
I'm pissed off. I don't know if I miss a foreskin or not because I have no idea what it would be like to have one.
I'm pissed off because they got it really short, and when I matured, I got ripping and scarring. Motherfuckers.
And if God really made us all, wouldn't he be upset that we're changing the design? I mean,
No, because God gets frustrated, God regrets, and God gets angry when he already knows what's going to happen throughout the whole book of Genesis, because that God did not evolve into an omnipresent, omnipotent being until much later in the book. In the first 5 books of the Bible, he's human. He's talking to other people because there was 2 other gods in the original Trinity for the Israelites, and he regrets and makes mistakes and gets angry and walks and loves the odor of burnt flesh and all these other human things, because the God in the first 5 books of the Old Testament is not the God that you start getting to around Job, Psalms, Micah, Isaiah. That God is then omnipresent, omnibenevolent, fucking everything. When at first he was human, very human, just like Thor and Zeus and all them.
Yeah.
He was the God of gods. He was the other gods existed as far as the Old Testament is concerned. They existed, and they actively required killing every single breathing thing, including infants and children. And then that religion still exists nowadays after it says that it was completely destroyed. And it's totally not. People worship horrors. Shit's still.
You came so close to making me break out into the Hallelujah chorus just then.
I don't know any of those songs.
Lord of Lords.
I'm wondering, to be honest with you guys, I'm wondering if there's people out there that still, I've encountered a few, but I don't really know for sure, but I'm wondering if there's still people out there who believe in Zeus and Aphrodite and
most of them are casual and understanding that it's a myth, but yeah, there is, and there's people that believe that that if if a black cat walks across you, it's bad luck. There's people that believe that there's Bigfoot. Even though there's no evidence of any mammal besides mammals, people believe in a lot of shit, and it's because people who are raised religious have to believe in something that's bullshit to justify keeping a hold of their afterlife. And when you aren't raised to believe in anything without evidence, or you overcome it, you realize that everything that doesn't have evidence is equal, and everything that doesn't exist can never be disproven or proven. It's the common factor of everything that doesn't exist. So what you have to do is you have to decide first, do you care if it's true or not? Because if you don't care if something's true or not, then it doesn't matter. After that, you have to, do you need to know every answer? Or are you able to grow up and just be okay with not knowing certain things? If you can do both of those, what happens is you start looking into shit and you realize there's a lot of bullshit and there's a lot of truth. How do I figure out the difference between bullshit and truth? And it's sources and it's the scientific method. Those 2 things together, you can wean out anything. Because if it has no sources and it wasn't using the scientific method, don't fucking worry about it. Because somebody will. Or worry about it and, use that as your scientific field and figure it the fuck out. But it's okay to not know. But it's also okay to say things don't exist when they don't exist in any shape or form that can affect you or your children. I can tell them leprechauns don't exist, because there's no reason for me to train them to worry about leprechauns, how to defeat them, what their weaknesses and strengths are, because it's irrelevant. Just like I tell them there's no boogeyman in the closet. How do I know there's not an interdimensional being that is on the 5th dimension curled up closer than my skin and the closet and can do something to them, but we can't? I don't know that shit, but I can say to my kids, hey, there's no boogie monsters. There's really not. Intellectually honest and also not knowing everything. And it's the exact same with deities. There is no reason to believe in any deity outside of a deistic deity. There's none. With pantheism, there's no reason to give a label to things that already have labels. Period. Done. The universe is the universe. You know, consciousness is consciousness. It doesn't need to be God too. There's no reason to believe in a theistic loving God because some Christian got the best parking spot in the rain while 6 black children starved to fucking death, praying to the same God. If there was a God and he is promising and threatening us shit, he's a sadistic motherfucker, worse than a kid with a magnifying glass and some ants. Because we actually can see the future, plan for it. We know we're going to die. We have empathy, which is fucking awesome, a million trait, where we can put ourselves in other people's shoes. Somebody's hand gets slammed on the TV, you're like, oh. You know, if somebody gets kicked in the balls, you're like, ooh, and shit, which is great. Great, great, great. What's not great?
It's not just us. It goes way down the vertebrate line.
Is it just mammals, or is it all vertebrates?
No. I would expect it was in some other very high vertebrates.
Elephants
Birds,
show empathy.
to some extent, you'll find different species of birds protecting each other, which may be good, evolutionarily. But anyhow,
elephants show mourning when they come across a dead elephant.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
There was even this one. This one video I've seen where in Australia they have this shark nets, and to keep whales from getting into it, they have these sonic buoys that makes them go away. Well, the buoy failed. Whale got caught in the shark net. This other whale was pushing it up to get air, while divers were trying to cut the shark net off.
Right, and the whale came and got the divers, if I remember the same video.
From what I understand,
I don't know about that. I just saw the whale trying to save the other one.
From what I understand, every creature that has empathy, every creature that does self-sacrificing things, is a mammalian trait of mammalian-style pack mentality. Birds, evolutionarily, might have gained it separately, the ability to self-sacrifice for young, but the ability to have one mate, the ability to work together, the ability to punish lying and stealing and cheating, because dogs and other pack animals do that, is all the same thing. Hairy creatures that give birth to live young, that females of the species make milk out of their mammary glands. Mammals.
Birds will stop preening another bird that does not preen back, and that bird will die of disease.
Well, hold on a second, guys. Hey, Lovely, are you there? Are you there, Lovely?
Your mic might be muted.
Yeah.
It doesn't show up as such. Yes, now it's
muted.
Yeah, okay, unmute, Lovely.
You also have to accept using your microphone and video camera. It's the first time.
There you go.
Are you there?
Here?
Oh, okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Go.
So what do you think about what we've been talking about?
I think a lot about everything.
Oh, okay.
I actually wanted to come in the room and or on the video, and actually ask you guys a question. It's something that I kind of use when I'm talking to people about this subject. The book, the Bible, it has different versions. And now they're preaching out of the King James version, or is there a newer version that came out?
King James
Is it
has
still the King James?
New International, and then there's the really bizarre one that the Masons have, the whole chapter about Solomon's temple beforehand. That one's extremely weird. But yeah, I'd say New International is post King James.
I don't think Americans use the New International. I really don't. It's more of worldwide. Most people.
Is it the altered? Is it the altered book, New International? Is it altered? Is it like books taken out? Because that's what I was going to ask you guys. How do you feel about over 30 books are missing? It's like a big gap in the middle that's missing, and I think it was the Septine Bible. I'm not sure, or the Geneva before this one, but it's kind of weird to me that
about the history of the Bible and how it came about. And how it came about was oral tradition first, Old Testament oral tradition. Then it was written and rewritten into scrolls. So somebody, if they lived around Jesus' time, could have access to all of the books before Matthew up until that point in scrolls. And there were and still are extra books of the Old Testament that that specific sects of Judaism follow. If you want to know anything about the Old Testament, ask a Jew. And the New Testament was handpicked out of hundreds and hundreds of documents, possibly even forged, definitely not made before 40 years after Christ's death, and all the way up into like 170 years after his death. They're all equally mythical, bad stories with bad main characters with really bad morals attached to them. And it doesn't matter if it's the 67 books or if it was 97 or if it was 43. They were
including the dates you're keying them to. You know, the birth and death of the fictional character within the storyline, you know, holds no value either. You know, it's like the archaeological finds from the time are really where all these stories should be keyed to, not just, oh, during Christ's time. It's like, well, it never happened. These other things were going on. You know, the Jews were never enslaved by the pharaohs. And, you know, so it's like it gets into our vernacular so bad. It's just woven into our English so deep. Yeah, that's like one of my, like, I guess you say a pet peeve, because it's like, you know, you start down the road of talking about how irrational it is, and because of the way our language is put together and the history of our English language, you wind up using these references to this fiction while you're debunking the fiction, and it's arg. I find myself doing it, and it's really annoying. Not coming from you, but from me. When I find myself doing it, I'm like, ah.
I love the Bible. The Bible is the biggest tool to get people to start questioning their beliefs, which is always beautiful. Always beautiful to question any belief, period. Even if you're right, it's really good to question it. Unlike what the religions say, that it's evil to question things. It's beautiful, and the Bible is so wrong. It's so obviously wrong that it's
very contradictory.
Yes.
Yeah, I always thought the Bible as like the precursor to the balloon animal. You twist.
All right, let's let Lovely have the floor. Oh, sorry, dear.
Okay, go ahead. You have Catholicism. You pass it through a digestive tract of a goat. You have Christian identity movement.
I tell you what's more dangerous than the Bible is a book that was actually written by somebody who actually exists, that can be read in less than a day, and in of its native language, rhymes, because it's poetry, and is simple enough to make any kind of any kind of religion out of it, and is complex enough to excuse yourself for anything, is the Quran. The Quran, most Americans have never read it because they've been told it's, you know, the devil or some shit. And the ones that do read it read translations that they only translate 9 out of 10 words. So Salat and Allah and Salat, Allah, and whatever the word is for charity aren't translated to prayers. God. Allah is the God. El Hayyum Qayyum is one of the names of God, and it's the most gracious, most merciful, loving God. These words, if you just translate them, there is a translation.
Well, I have a question. I'm a little bit ignorant on this particular question. How many books exactly were taken out of the Bible besides the Book of Enoch and the Book of Mormon and all of these other?
The Bible itself is whole and complete because the Bible, as what you call the Bible, was made in the Council of Nicaea. So
Okay.
taken out afterwards, none. Which, how many were picked from? There was more than 3 times the amount of books that actually made it in the New Testament. And they took out the Book of Lilith, and they took out a couple other Kabbalic things from the Old Testament, but there was no book before the Council of Nicaea. There were scattered scrolls. It was written in Aramaic. It was written in Greek. Aramaic had no vowels, and still doesn't, so you can't know if it's Yahweh or Jehovah, except you can know there's no J in Hebrew. The Bible itself was made, handpicked, and crafted all at one time, and has maintained the integrity, but has gained more and more and more and more bad translation errors over time. And there's more than 100,000 discrepancies between the new King James version and the Dead Sea Scrolls, to the point where it's just they don't even worry about it. It's so mixed up. But nothing was ever taken out of the Bible. It was retranslated and retranslated. The Quran is memorized to this day by people, memorized, and only they'll say it's never been changed. It's been changed just a little bit here and there from what I have been able to discern, but it is whole. It is a evil message. It can be simple and beautiful in the Quran, just the Quran, not hadiths. Hadiths are extra books added to the Quran. The word Quran is the word read. The word hadith is the word book. And in the Quran, it says, do not write any other hadiths than this. There's thousands of hadiths, which pretty much are books written after he was dead, kind of like the Gospels, except they all start that my brother, sister's cousin's nephew saw the prophet do blah, blah, blah. It's like 17-hand knowledge. Those hadiths are why women wear burqas. Those hadiths are why you can have young children. Those hadiths are the reason why they pray to go into a bathroom because they're afraid of the devil in the bathroom. None of that shit's in the Quran. The Quran says don't write other hadiths, and the 3 commandments are read the Quran when it's easy, give charity, starting with your family, and pray. Not 5 times a day, not any particular way, but just pray. Those are only 3 things you have to do if you actually read the Quran by itself. So Islam hates it when you do that. But that is dangerous because that lets you know that this version of God you had grows up and you realize this is the God of Abraham. He can do whatever the fuck he wants. He is the one in control. He sends people to hell. The devil has no power. God wishes you to be a believer or not. There's nothing you can do about it. And nothing happens without God's will. And he could do it any which way he wants. And you can read it every day, in its entirety, every day. And if you speak Arabic, it rhymes, and it's pretty. It's dangerous.
So, lovely. Are you a Christian, atheist, or?
I kind of got away from the label as atheist, but I still kind of claim it to a majority.
Okay.
People who don't understand. But he kind of got away from my question a little bit. There's a part of the Bible where in between Malachi and Matthew, there are almost 30 books that are like completely
How do you know this?
gapped out. And it's kind of annoying because you cannot teach a class with the beginning and the ending of a book. You have to teach a class with all books.
How do you know that there's 30 books missing? Have you talked to Jewish
After
scholars?
after Malachi, you have first Esdras, second Esdras, Tobias, Judith, additions to Esther, Wisdom, Baruch, Epistle of Jeremiah, Susanna, Bell and the Dragon, 4 Maccabees. It's like it's going on and on. Only one I had the time to read was Bell and the Dragon, and it was pretty weird. It had no type of Christian religion type story to the book. It's more like a fable. They don't mention God or Jesus or Yahweh or whatever names forgot in that, the Bell and the Dragon.
Yeah, there's a lot of Kabbalic books that aren't in the Old Testament, but that's because they were so out there that even the religious people were like, oh, this just makes us look stupid. They're really out. Like, have you read the Book of Lilith?
Not at all, but I've read like some pieces from it.
The Book of Lilith's supposed to start right after Genesis 1, before Genesis 2, and it's God making Adam and Eve 3 times, I believe, and killing them each time because he couldn't quite get it right. He made Adam and Eve, like Adam on the front and Eve on the back, but said it was bad for conversation, so killed him, and then made Adam and Lilith, but Lilith wanted to fuck on top, and God said, women on the bottom, men on top.
That's true.
Left. And she left and was giving birth to 100 creatures a day, and that's where the demons are supposed to be coming from.
Yeah.
It's super out there. But it totally makes sense if you read Genesis 1, then read the Book of Lilith, then read Genesis 2, and you're like, okay, God's still being a fuck up. But I wouldn't worry. I'm not mad. I wouldn't worry about those books being missing any more than I'm worried that the Joseph Smith's stories aren't in the Bible, because they're all self-defeating. They're all self-defeating.
Yeah, because to my knowledge,
it pisses me off. Still haven't put Tom Baldwin in Bilbo stories.
Go ahead, Lovely.
They haven't. Yeah, sorry, Tolkien reference. Never mind. Go ahead, Lovely.
It's okay. The polyglot Bible should, basically what I'm saying is the polyglot has, I guess, all the books that it's supposed to have, and it's like that should be the book that everyone reads from, teach out of rather. And if you're going to be a true Christian by your Bible, why not have the polyglot? It's Polyglot.
Well, the Christian answer I got growing up was God's in control of all things. Nothing happens without God's will. God allowed the Bible to be the way it is, imperfect or whatever, and to accept the Bible as God's word because it wouldn't be here if it wasn't God's will. And that the extra books shouldn't worry about because there's more extra books than anyone even knows about.
Exactly. And that's my point. That it just doesn't make any sense to me. How can you call yourself a master if you don't have the whole word of the Bible? Do anybody follow me?
Yeah, you're making sense.
Okay. I was trying to make sure. Okay.
Yeah, within the genre, you want it all.
It's kind of half-assed, I don't see how can you master something if you don't have all the knowledge.
Well, there's a fine line because religions want you to be zealous in their belief system and in their particular dogma, but at the same time they know from experience that if you learn too much, it can test your faith. So they always caution people in most major organized religions when you're learning as a student to be careful about learning too much about science or learning too much about other religions, because God in his infinite wisdom made things this way and has lots of stumbling blocks and has lots of misinformation, and the devil was allowed to play tricks. So you have to be careful, because you might, get the story of Horus and Jesus confused and be like, wait, they're both maybe not right, and that's just a big no-no. So they don't want you to be, they want you to be a perfect Christian. They don't want you to be a knowledgeable scholar. There's a big difference.
Thinking bad.
Very true.
Well, God gave you this brain, and God made you sick, and he's demanding you to be well, but you can't use your brain to get well because you have to believe in talking donkeys.
And floating axe heads and talking snakes and.
Oh yeah, and the best way to forgive somebody is to make yourself into yourself and sacrifice yourself to yourself so that you can forgive, rather than just being like a good dad and just being like, okay, I forgive you.
Yeah, the best example of how absurd this is, when my nephew was a toddler and I see him do something that he's about to hurt himself, I stopped it. I didn't watch. I didn't think, oh, this will turn out fine.
Yeah, that's like me, giving my 3-month-old niece a bike to ride, and she suddenly falls off the bike and wrecks the bike and hurts herself, and then I kick her ass for doing it. What kind of sense does that make? When I already,
It's worse than that. It's like as if you have an infant and you tell the infant, don't go in that dog pen because that pit bull will kill you. And then the infant's crawling in there and you're like, psh, I warned you. I'll tell you what. I'm going to let you taste it a little bit. Then I'm going to save you so that every child you have for the foreseeable future, I can torture forever because of your mistake. Even though you're an infant and even though I'm the one who understands everything, I'm just going to be a dick about it because I warned you. I mean, I warned you.
Yeah.
I'm terrified of sharks. And if I saw any child, any baby in the ocean, I would be compelled to just jump in the ocean and save that child because I have maternal instincts and I'm not a sociopath.
Yeah.
But then God can just be like, I warned you. I warned you. And now, women, you're going to have periods and pain, and you're going to be men's bitch. And most people, broad and spacious is the path to destruction, are going to burn forever. Most people. Because I know everything that's going to happen, and I made them that way. And I made the system flawed.
Yeah, that's what I don't get, the huge inconsistency there, He made us, allegedly made us, knowing that we were going to do these things, and then sending us to burn for eternity for doing them when he actually knew what we were going to do from the beginning.
Exactly.
Has the ability, and has the ability to prove to every individual on this planet in such a way that those people can understand, because he's fucking God and chooses instead to let a bunch of people talk for him.
Is he illiterate? Why couldn't he just hand the Bible over?
He was illiterate.
He had to go through a human being who's flawed, who's going to put their own shit in there.
Well, he did go and make 10 commandments on stones that don't exist.
Yeah.
And like 6 of them are don't worship other gods.
Didn't they say that 10 commandments were put in what is that, the Ark of the Covenant or some shit?
Yeah, it's one of their stupid stories. It's nowhere in the Bible.
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody seems to notice that there's 615 commandments altogether.
Yes. And the 10 commandments are not the 10 commandments in the actual courthouses. The one that says 10 commandments is the don't boil the calf in its mother's milk one. But that's
because
there's
we do
3
that
10
a lot.
commandments.
Yeah, I kind of laugh at the notion that the Christians, they put up, the Ten Commandments on a pedestal, like if there were something special, when their own alleged God goes himself and breaks a large number of them himself, and then he.
You have to take it in context. In other words, I can't defend this, so blah. Because there is a context where it's okay to kill every single breathing creature in the Promised Land. And there is a context where it's okay to rip open pregnant women. I just can't tell you what it is. And then you got the people who are Calvinists, who are like, yep, God's a dick. Who gives a shit? He does what he's going to do, and I can't save you. It's not my job to save you, and I'm right, and I get to make it, and most people don't, and they're going to go to hell, and I don't give a shit. Fucking Calvinists, man.
So we have someone new in the room. Who's it? Truth. I can't read the full name. Let's see. Are you there?
That's heresy.
What's that?
Let's see. Truth begets heresy. Heresy is truth.
Oh, okay. Do you have anything to say about what we've been talking about in here? Are you there? I guess his audio is broken or something. I don't know. I'm not sure. Are you muted?
The commandments are in the Old Testament. No audio at the moment.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, Bible's fucking evil, super fucking evil, super duper evil, and
Perfect tool for sociopath.
well, yes, sociopathia. People who are sociopaths themselves are usually the ones that are religious leaders, because my father's a sociopath, and by sociopath, let me define it. I accept a definition of the inability to feel empathy, the ability to display emotions on command if it benefits you, but no true actual empathy. Would not cringe if he saw a man get kicked in the balls, does not feel bad, and more importantly, would switch a train track to kill one child to save 10 adults without any hesitation. That's sociopathia. Just boop, yep, no problem. Sociopaths are required because you have to convince all of the people beneath you that they are worthless. You have to be willing to accept that most people are going to be tortured, and then be okay with whatever is in whatever you're preaching, to the point where you justify everything. It's all sociopathic traits. And those are the people that took the good intentions of people just trying to answer where lightning came from, or trying to comfort your daughter when their grandmother died, and turning it into a way of getting away with everything. They were smart. They were like, holy fucking shit. Dude, I can fuck all the women and take everyone else's shit, and all I gotta do is tell these people that God said this and this and this, and they'll believe me, because I'm going to give them something later in life, or even better, after they're dead. It's the ultimate scheme, man. It's the ultimate scheme. Yeah. Muhammad was able to fuck hundreds of women, marry underage women. He was able to take over complete, entire fucking fortified cities, because he would be like, you have 3 days to convert or die. And the whole town would just be like, yeah, fuck it, I convert. And just amass this. He was a military fucking genius. And he got to do whatever the fuck he wanted. And besides Joseph Smith, he was like the last person that I know of to truly, truly benefit from the whole I'm God's vessel shit. Like, ultimately, Muhammad totally existed. Muhammad totally could read. He plagiarized a lot from Greek understanding, and he was smart. He was so smart that he was able to deceive hundreds of thousands of people and make the most dangerous thing on this planet. It is fucking dangerous because you honestly think that this is just a test, and you honestly know that anything evil or good God already knows about, and you just have to give up. You have to become a Muslim, which is in submission to God, and just do whatever the fuck. But the cool part is you get the best of all the heavens. You get the paradise, earth-like conditions like paradise. You get the heaven, whatever you want part. You get alcohol, you get women, you get anything you want, and mansions. It's super Christian heaven on steroids. And all you got to do is just believe that there is only one God and that it makes no sense for him to have a son, and that it's the same God as Abraham's God. And boom, you have the ability to do anything with justification. And with enough stress and enough heartache in your life and the right people, be convinced to do anything without question.
You ever hear of the Milgram experiment, otherwise known as the obedience experiment?
The one where they were zapping people remotely and had an actor pretending.
They thought they actually killed people.
And they still do it.
And that was just a guy in a lab coat with an authoritative attitude.
With less than a day.
Yeah, who wouldn't do any...
We'd all be SS in the concentration camps. We'd all push that. It's been proven.
No, actually, it depends on your upbringing. I was brought up around doctors. My father's a surgeon, and I would have punched that fucker in the head because I don't see him as an unquestionable authority.
Yeah, you're one of the minority out of the...
Doctors 150 years ago would test medical shit on human beings unwillingly, and there was no, at that time, remorse or thinking that doing something wrong.
And so many people fell for that just because of the air of authority. Who wouldn't fall for it with the authority coming from God?
Yeah.
A lot of people do because it's ingrained that 60% of the candidates.
It's evolution. That button. Evolution dictates you must believe and listen and emulate the adults around you, because that's how you figure out which berries to eat. That's how you figure out how to hunt before even speech. And so it is natural for you to trust adults. The problem is most adults in America right now don't care if they're right or wrong. They only care that that their imaginary friend is okay with them. That's all they care about. They don't care.
They're part of the popular in-group.
Yeah.
That was the difference between me and my mother. My mother, who's an atheist now, I forcefully converted her, because you can do that if they love you. My mother's an atheist now. She was a Muslim preacher who invented her own religion, and she raised the whole family Jehovah's Witness. She meant well. She really did. She wanted to ensure our eternal bliss in heaven just as much as hers. It was not selfish, nor was it self-sacrificing. It was equal. But she didn't care if it was true or not. She just wanted to feel good. I cared and didn't give a shit what the answer was, as long as it was either I don't know or this is most likely true because to my children. And the same genetics, I have a clone, my youngest is an exact clone of me. Same genetics, different childhood experience, totally different way of looking at life. Totally. And these kids, I will talk to them at 10 and 8 about drugs. I will talk to them about sex. I will talk to them about anything. I might dumb it down or sugarcoat it for their age, but I'll talk to them about anything. I don't think that they're going to have to come off of crack and heroin and meth like I did. I don't think that they're going to fuck anything they can. I don't think that they're still to this day going to have a problem with condoms and with saving and with other things, because there's no ramifications for coming to me and asking me a question, or for coming to me and saying, Dad, can I try a sip of beer? Yeah, sure. It tastes like shit. Yep. All right, kid, go away. Don't steal my beers. I'll know I count. and just be okay with things with the kids. They're nice, they're kind, they're gentle, they're empathetic, they're loving, they're good to animals, they're respectful. They, they're kids, they fuck up and they're boys, and so they, get a little fucking, I'm right and everyone's wrong, blah, blah, blah. But for the most part, they're better Christians than Christians, better Muslims than Muslims are. They're humans, like humans. And they never thought that they were going to heaven. They never believed in anything but if you're dead, you're dead. And they're not afraid. They're not afraid at all. I cried for like 2 fucking weeks when I realized all the babies were dead and just dead. Just fucking cried, dude, for no fucking reason. Screamed at God and shook the fucking steering wheel while driving down the road because I just popped. Like 30 years of that shit will really, really cause a bad deconversion. But everyone who's thinking, everyone who's doubting, everyone who's wondering if it's okay to think, it is, and not only that, but after a year or 2, maybe longer, maybe shorter, just depends upon how much it matters to you, you get over it. You grow.
Do I detect the sound from our other friend in here that's having audio issues? Because he said he was trying to set up his audio.
Huh.
I was wondering, and I heard something. Truth begets hearsay. Can you hear me, or can you speak? Oh, okay, not yet. He said he'll let us know when.
All right. Also, Hangouts lets you take control of somebody's computer. If you need some help, I'll go ahead and remote in. Tell you, I can fix it for you. It's probably somewhere in the device manager. But.
My mom, she took the lead in raising my nephew, and she's born again. She's always known my anti-theistic stance, but seeing that she was in the lead, she was taking the most responsibility in raising him, I just bit my tongue. But he came to me and said, I don't believe it. I don't believe this in religion. I don't believe the stories.
How old?
He's 17.
Okay, that's cool.
He's
brave then. It takes bravery to at least accept the possibility that you are a finite creature who's going to die and just be dead. That takes bravery. My stepdad is the biggest, strongest, hardest working, toughest motherfucker I know, and he's a fucking coward. He's such a coward that he would rather everyone just shut the fuck up so I can maintain my fucking craziness, please, than to just, in every other aspect, he's more of a man than me, than just man up and be like, yeah, it's at least possible that I'm going to die and just be dead. And I've had diabetes my entire life, and I'm almost 60, so I'm doing all right. It's okay to be scared, but I should kind of be a man. No, instead he pushes me in the wall and hits me for Jesus as a Muslim for taking people's faith away. Which it's impossible to take someone's faith away unless they love you.
You are the faith vacuum.
Zombie Jesus wants faith.
How do you take away belief without evidence?
Brains.
No, that's religion we're talking about. Faith, back up brains.
It's nice how gullibility is the greatest attribute of a Christian, is faith. Best thing. And the worst thing you can do, even to be ridiculed and called stupid in the Bible, is to disbelieve.
Well, I one time was describing gullibility to a person, and I said, so for example, I could tell someone that out in the forest, and we were at camp, right, where there were bears. Right? At 2 a.m., the bears get this ghostly blue glow, and they float silently through the forest. This was an example. I made it absolutely clear that it was an example, and she believed me and would not leave the lodge for the rest of the night.
Yeah.
Gullibility is unbelievably...
The cure to gullibility.
So easy. Even when you're showing somebody gullibility, you get them to get a gullible reaction to your completely bizarre hypothesis.
And it's not intelligence. I'm the same intelligence as I was 3 years ago. But the thing is now I'm a skeptic. And now it's really hard to catch me off guard, because for me to believe an extraordinary claim will require some evidence, and I immediately reject it. Somebody was like, yeah, well, we're a new type of, we're not Homo sapiens anymore. I'm like, really? They're like, yeah, we're Homo sapiens sapiens. And I'm like, okay, first of all, that's thinking man, and it's man thinking. Second of all, bullshit. And they pulled up an article about it, and I was like, okay, go to the bottom of the pages. Where's the source? No sources. I was like, bullshit. It's bullshit. Plus, you don't name something until it's in a period in the past. That's how naming works. And just didn't believe it. The mermaid thing. Everyone was like, oh, there's mermaids. I didn't believe it because there was no sources and no evidence. And I was like, don't worry. If there's a bunch of mammals, aquatic apes swimming in the ocean, we'll find out eventually. I mean, we found all kinds of shit. And just didn't believe it. Didn't fall for it. Let's see. What's just anything that is extraordinary in any way, or anything that seems kind of fishy, I just immediately disbelieve. Disbelief should be the default state, and it's something you have to be trained at doing. Skeptical thinking is not a human or a mammalian or an animalistic quality. Skepticism is a thing like tying your shoes. Tying your shoes is not something any human being will know without learning. It's the same. It's the skeptical tool set of interrogating the universe around you and not falling for things, which is really important. People don't understand this, but it's really important to not fall for bullshit, because when you fall for bullshit, other people take advantage of it, period, whether they know it or not. You become dangerous. You become very dangerous to con artists, very dangerous to religious leaders, very dangerous to anybody around you that is has belief systems based upon things that are baseless. People are like, oh, Christians are being persecuted. They can be.
Or running any con, for that matter.
You can persecute the shit out of people once you have a couple years of contemplation and the full skeptical, scientifically literate, logically sound debate and fallacy understanding. You can shred someone's whole fucking brain up, cause them to have cognitive dissonance, cause them to get angry, pissed off, and ashamed, and just curl up into a little ball. I can do that to every one of my roommates. They know not to fuck with me. And the thing is that's what's awesome about not defending a side that is undefendable. You don't have to memorize anything. You don't have to learn any tricks. To successfully pick apart any bullshit only requires the understanding and how to be skeptical. And that's it. Tear apart anything, to the point where someone's walking away or punching me. And that is way more powerful than Christians, because Christians and other religious people, they have a defense against other religions where they just go blind, deaf, mute, and dumb, la la la, la la la, you're a fucking Scientologist, blah blah blah. They can't do that with logic and reasoning.
So truth gets hearsay. Can you speak now?
Kia ora, gentlemen. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, that's perfect now. Hooray!
Hey guys.
So what do you got to say about all of this?
Well, just quite an interesting story the brother was just telling us. This reminds me of a few things. My parents were Pentecostals, and just the blatant hypocrisy, the living the Gospels and then in accordance with, and then actually watching them try to live that out. Every day was a different hypocrisy, was a different, something that had been explained to us that was a vehement truth would then be demonstrated to be more flexible during the day. Even amongst the churchgoers, they would demonstrate that there was no, it was a do as I say, not as I do action, and it was a hierarchical situation where the people at the top could get away with more of the rules that they set for the further down, and it seemed to be the same thing in the tithing. Certain folks within the community didn't seem to be required to tithe at the same level that newbies were, so to speak, or those who had fallen out of favour, been separated, or were divorced couples, stuff like that. It was kind of semi-Baptist as well, but it was quite judgmental. You've had to tell from my accent that I'm from New Zealand.
New Zealand and Australia has a lot of Pentecostals, though.
Yes, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Sorry
about that. All animals are created equals, but some more equal than others.
There's a bit of that. We have the Mormon cult too, as well, unfortunately.
Mormons are easy, though. Just ask them, do you really think you're going to get your own planet? Like, really? Really? And they'll never come back.
The worst part is, gentlemen, is they systematically pair Pacific Island folk with the Mormon Salt Lake City boys, so that it's more uncomfortable to ask the 1977 question, that being, when could a man of color become a deacon in your church? It's quite disgusting, their legacy, if you ask me.
I had an African-American Mormon come and was picking on this lady downstairs.
Man of color could not be a deacon before I believe it was 1977 off the top of my head.
76, 77, something like that.
Sorry, I stand corrected.
They couldn't be an elder at all. They couldn't wear the magic underwear, and they could never have their own planet. They always had to be somebody else's bitch on some other planet. And Elohim, Yahweh, physically came down and fucked Mary. And,
that's right.
Yeah. And he's from,
I know their precious
planet,
quite well.
Way over there, planet Kolog or something.
Kolog, yes.
Apparently, our own star is also a habitable surface.
I wonder why there was not talk of other planets before there was telescopes. Did God have short-sightedness or something? It always seems like God seems to know as much as a human being who's about 12 years old would know at the time.
At any given time. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The greatest is the Muslims who are like, oh, there's scientific miracles in the Quran. I'm like, yeah.
Oh yeah, they come up.
Of course. So
after the Bible is written, so going to have more knowledge.
I defeat those arguments so well that they always have to do the same thing. Reading it in English, you have to read it in Arabic.
Quran does say that you can't mix salt water with regular water. So.
And it totally does. Totally does.
So does the CD.
And also, an embryo is not chewed up thing, a wad, and is not a drop of semen mixed with menstrual fluids either. And there's 11 words in the Arabic language that are synonyms for flat, spread out, or rolled out, and all of those words are used to describe the Earth. And the moon is a light source when it's not a light source. It's a reflecting body of the light source of the sun. And yeah, it's all bullshit. And it is all stuff.
You look like a masked Arab. Lovely, like you're falling asleep over there.
Oh no, I'm looking at my screen.
Oh.
The masked Arab is a form. Yeah, he's an atheist who's also
apostate
Muslim.
Yeah.
Yeah, he covered it. He covers a lot of that too.
Ex-Muslim and Free hasn't posted in years, but he does a really good job. The thing is it's really hard to get an Arabic-speaking scholar to answer your questions when you're very specific about it, and it's really hard to trust people when you're starting to question it. But then when you find an Arabic-speaking, born and raised Muslim like the YouTuber you were talking about, or ex-Muslim and free, they really understand Arabic language, and when they say that it's synonyms for the word flat, I believe it. And then when I tried to Google it and try to look into it, there's no evidence beyond that they're synonyms for flat. And everything, every scientific miracle in there is just plagiarism of Greek understanding and writings, and that's why they have to say that Muhammad couldn't read, even though he obviously, why wouldn't a traitor and military genius not know how to read? It doesn't make sense. It's more mystical if the dude can't read, and gives a reason why there's all these extra books is because Muhammad needed people to write. No, the dude went to the Library of Alexandria and was able to read stuff. Well, maybe not the Library of Alexandria. I think it burned down by then. But there was sources, especially Arabic sources back then, where the Arabic culture was the leader of free thinking at the time. That's why we have Arabic numerals, not because they came from an Arabic person, but because they were translated into Arabic. The dude was Turkish, and had the concept of zero. Algebra is an Arabic word. Most of the stars have their Arabic names. The very first video camera, the
Camera Obscura?
Camera Obscura was invented by Arabs, and all of this shit. It was an awesome place to be at the time, and you could actually talk shit about gods without dying. And then Muhammad came around and just totally just took over all of that shit, man. And just turned it. He was a military genius. He was like Genghis Khan genius, but he was a piece of shit, and he was a pedophile, and there is no context.
Well, actually, I like someone to me, important, and we can actually, verify that he existed, is King Leonidas from the Spartan Empire. I like him.
Yeah, he was okay, but they would totally kill people over their religious nonsense too.
Yeah,
they were big into it.
Well, they believe the Spartan Empire believed that they were direct descendants of Hercules.
Well, of course, because not only do you have to be persecuted, you have to be special.
Yeah.
Yeah. The cool thing about being special is we're all special. That makes us not special. Yeah.
Well, I got about maybe 5 more minutes, guys, and then I gotta go. Any last thing you guys want to say?
I want to thank you for letting me on. It's been a year and a half since I've been on YouTube or Hangout. I walked away from fighting religion, and now just don't give a shit at all, period. Protect my kids, talk to people that want to talk, and don't give a shit, because people will always believe whatever they want, and will only believe whatever they want, until they grow up, period. But I don't know. I might start making videos again in the future. I might not.
Weren't you the one that I don't know? You bear a striking resemblance to an individual that debated Seitan Bruggencate a while back.
No, more like G-Man and what's ever his name, the Calvinist. No, I didn't go after Seitan.
Matt Slick?
Are you talking about
his name? I don't even remember his name.
Because Matt Slick is a Calvinist, I believe.
Bible thumping wingnut?
Oh, I did have an argument with what's his name? The big fat Christian that's never read the Bible at all.
Rand Campbell?
Yeah, me and him. I kept telling him to read the Bible. Well, I don't have to read the Bible because I have the author in my heart.
Not standing between God's wrath and the world.
Don't make me Rand slap you all into the truth.
What's his favorite word? What's his favorite word? Not ingrate.
Reprobate.
Reprobate.
I learned a 4-syllable word. Reprobate.
he tells us that we're so small that he could literally pick us up and put us on his arm like a tattoo.
That's probably true for me. The thing is He-Man and Rand Campbell, those are the YouTubers that only are popular because atheists argue with them. If they left them alone, they'd go away.
Shit, I guarantee you that 3/4 of their subscribers are atheists.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And the Christians that watch him for comfort must be really pathetic. Because they look at this guy and like compliment him and thank him for his kind works without being a real Christian and being like, dude, you are inconsistent, you don't read the Bible, and you don't know what you believe.
Hey, Quatine, hold on a second. Truth begets hearsay said something good in the chat. It's pretty good. He goes, great show, Bukkake Gate, G-Man point and question. Oh, man.
Titan, I believe he believes that shit.
Oh,
I believe G-Man is a believer.
Could you be wrong? Could you be wrong about everything you know?
No, I cannot be wrong about everything I know, because I know that I exist. I think, therefore I am, and I know that if I walk in front of a truck and get hit, it's going to hurt.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
I say the greatest thing you could do is to question everything, and then question your questions.
Be skeptical of your skepticism.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I gotta say,
going through the world blind.
It's better to know than to believe.
Yep.
Belief is not required. What is required is questioning in life. You don't have to believe anything. You don't have to believe that you need to eat to live, but you're eventually going to eat to live. You don't have to believe in gods. You just have to live your life with an imaginary friend. Belief is only necessary when you are trying to defend a position. That's the only time belief is necessary. It doesn't matter if you believe that there's a shark in the water or not, because there could be. It only matters if you're in the water and you see something. Then you have to come out.
There.
Belief is just a subset of knowledge. So you either have to be told you have knowledge you don't, or you have to have enough knowledge to come to a belief. But you can believe a lot of things, but you don't have to.
I'd never grown as a person until I did start questioning everything. I had that blind. I come from. I have rage issues, and nothing blinds you more than the circular logic of rage. I wouldn't feel this way if I didn't have. If it wasn't true, and it wasn't true, I wouldn't feel this way. When I finally got my head out my ass, that's when I really turned into a real human being.
Oh, man.
I just get mad when people deny science with no understanding of it. It pisses me the fuck off. I'm like, what is the scientific method? Define hypothesis, define theory, and they can't. And it's like, why you don't believe in this? Because you have no knowledge to it. Let me explain to you one thing that you might not understand. One thing. Okay, the word theory in science means a group of facts, a group of hypotheses, a group of laws that can make a prediction. It is not a theory that God made the universe. That's a shit fucking hypothesis. A theory has to have predictions, and until you can make predictions, you don't have a theory.
Testable.
Slang word theory means haphazard guess. But
in other words, you can put a cat in the oven, but that don't make it a biscuit. Whatever that means.
I don't know. People who are using a touch tone, a phone on lithium-ion batteries, traveling over the electromagnetic spectrum with their signals to a receiving station that bounces it off a satellite placed in orbit by the space shuttle to say science is bullshit. Fucking morons.
What blew my mind is when at first I thought this group was just a joke, but I checked their website out. Christians Against Dinosaurs.
Yeah.
No.
Oh
No, they're
that is jaw-droppingly stupid.
The one was for real,
I
but
think they only have one believer. It's that woman who never changes her shirt.
Oh man, for someone to say, I mean, that dinosaurs do not exist, they gotta be extremely misinformed, man.
Well, I had one of the worst demonizing upbringing against religion against the science as a Jehovah's Witness. Totally just lied to every which way. And then when I got kicked out, I started learning about science, and it doesn't matter what anyone says about science, because any individual with access to information can learn about science on their own eventually. Good enough that you can trust and believe in the method. You just can't. I learned completely, 100%, about everything I know, except for computers and religion, after I got kicked out. Completely. I was homeschooled so I could be a pioneer. I was on the fast track to Bethel, which is pretty much perfect Jehovah's Witness life on earth right now. I was baptized knowingly at the age of 11 after qualifying all the prerequisites for it, and publicly speaked in front of 37,000 people at an assembly. Was in a theocratic ministry school at the age of 7. Was a door-to-door pioneer at the age of 5. And all I knew was that. And it only took about 4 or 5 years to understand science, to go to an old earth creationist, and only took about 10, 15 years to have a concept of quantum mechanics and relativity and electromagnetic spectrum, and it's all the same fucking thing, and all of this understanding. And the best thing to go, oh yeah, we don't know. I don't know. Humans don't know. We don't know. We don't know.
Yep.
It's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll ever know what's at a singularity in a black hole, because the word singularity means insert we don't fucking know here. I don't think we'll ever know. And I don't think we'll ever know what caused the Big Bang, because I don't think there was a cause. But I do think we'll know how non-living matter turned into replicating, matter called life. I think we'll figure that out. But I think there's a couple questions we'll never, ever know, but have an understanding of why we can't know. What happened before the Big Bang? Stupid fucking question. Like, really stupid question. Because there is no before time. Like, there's no south at the South Pole.
Well, it's how does a T0 state produce a universe?
There's no such thing as T0. There's ground state fluctuations. There's 0 point energy. It's impossible.
Time is irrelevant.
Having no movement, being at a 0 point and not fluctuating is the same as absolute zero, and is impossible in this universe. It's impossible. But what is possible is, just with the laws of physics, with nothing, which we have no nothing in this universe to actually say nothing, everything's something, in nothing, for there to be created a universe with energy and equal negative energy, and to cost nothing. In a vacuum state right now, constantly, a particle and antiparticle come into existence and go out of existence and cost nothing, because it's zero, it equals zero. The universe can do that. How does it do that is maybe an ill-formed question. What happens a Planck moment afterwards? Not sure yet. Mathematically, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. All right, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and bring this hangout to a close, because I gotta get busy doing some other things. But I'll be more than happy to have a hangout with you guys next time. I really thank everybody for being here and talking. And
thank you.
Yes, I got to meet some new people that I haven't met before, which is great. you know, and hopefully I can have a chit chat with you guys again. I might even throw another hangout tomorrow. Well, technically tonight because it's already morning where I'm at. But yeah, I look forward to another conversation with you guys. And anybody else have any last things they want to say before I hang it all up?
Eschew ostentation.
What's that?
Eschew ostentation.
Lovely. Do you have anything you want to say?
No, just I'm keeping it secular over here.
How about you, Gary?
We're going to get better. This religion shit is not going to be as powerful as it is now. Evolution just takes time, and social evolution takes a lot of time, but it's going to happen eventually.
Yeah.
This too like a kidney stone will pass.
Yeah. How about you, Truth Begets Hearsay?
Yeah, thanks for letting me get on the show, man. I've been following your channel for a bit. Like your material, very cool.
Thank you.
I think there's an argument, on the closing, I think there's an argument to be held. I think we secular folk also as well need to acknowledge the neurological and biological fact of religiosity. There's biochemical reasons that we have these vestigial characteristics. It's kind of like infanticide. It's one of those ones we don't need to emphasize or encourage anymore, but it's a vestigial element of our neurology nonetheless. We can't set that aside. We need to acknowledge that religiosity and that behavior when we witness it, whether it's through socialist, communist Marxism or through evangelical Pentecostals or even through some lighter tambourine tapping Baptist type material. When that cognitive dissonance is demonstrated, we need to call it like we sees it. Thank you for letting me come on.
Wow, damn, someone dropped a fucking hammer like Thor here. All right, guys, like I said, it was really interesting to talk with you all. I hope to do it again. Like I said, I'll probably have another hangout later on today and invite you all again.
You have any idea what the subject will be?
Not really. What do you guys think the subject should be? You guys have any preferences?
Well, I'm a history geek. I was thinking about doing a hangout myself about the history of World War II and religion. But that's a huge subject.
What about Hitler and Catholicism? Here's a
Hitler.
Yeah, Hitler. Oh, better watch out. There might be Christians in the comment section saying Hitler was an atheist.
No.
Oh, bring it on.
Oh, that's another 6 hours of discussion right there.
Yeah,
I'm hungry. I'm going to get something to eat.
Yeah, well, I'll go ahead and open another hangout later on this evening, and we can have another conversation if you guys like. And what I'm going to just make the hangout about is just everything in general, you know, a general discussion about everything. We could talk about anything and everything. I think that would be a lot easier.
Okay.
All right.
But I'll see you guys later, and thank you guys for coming by.
No problem.
Bye.
Thanks.
Yeah.